Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku was Nejire's inspiration part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story, the real D4 Archicast 3, are from Wattpad. So let's start the video. For this story we'll be focusing on Midoriya, smiley face. One sunlight alighted inside the room of a boy named Izuku. He woke up with a feeling of excitement and anxiety. One Midoriya POV. Another day, another week of hard work, I mumbled to myself as I went to the kitchen to make food. It was an appealing day and I saw Kaken and Ida coming out of their rooms and going up to me. What are you doing, demon nerd? Kaken shouted at me. Bakugo, stop shouting, you'll wake up the others, Ida said in a whispering voice. Kaken didn't hear what Ida said and he kept shouting, didn't I say I was going to be the first person to make breakfast every Monday? Kaken's still shouting at me. You was hungry, so I decided to make breakfast for myself, I said as I stuttered at Kaken. Kaken said with an angry expression in his face. Bakugo, stop shouting, Ida said, still whispering. Then suddenly Kaminari, Todoroki and Kirishima walked out of their rooms. What's all that noise? Todoroki said to Ida. It was Bakugo shouting, Ida said to Todoroki. Man, it's 7:30 am in the morning and you're already noisy, Kaminari said to Kaken. What did you say? Kaken said to Kaminari, walking to him angrily. Yeah, I said inside my head. Then there was a huge explosion that could be heard around the world. At once everyone walked out of the room and asked what was happening. Smoke covered the kitchen and after it cleared up they saw a beaten-up Kaminari. Still, we know he wasn't dead. Kaminari. What happened? Mineta said while tearing up. Ida and I explained everything to them. After they knew what happened they began to show scared expressions on their faces. Bakugo really did. What? After that we heard footsteps coming from Aizawa-sensei. What happened here? Aizawa said with the same expression in his face. I explained what happened and I went back to making food while Bakugo was getting an earful. 5 after breakfast I was getting ready for school. It was still a normal day, but then out of the blue the big 3 surprised me from behind. I said, startled. Hey. Mirio said to me energetically. Hello. The blue-haired girl also said to me energetically. Tamaki was behind them and still silent. I'm sorry, it's your N. I said to the blue-haired girl, stuttering, still not knowing what to do and what her name is. My name's Nejire, silly, she said while she came up close to my face smiling and her eyes were closed, so close. I was blushing at this point. Okay, I said to Nejire. After she opened her eyes she blushed and went back awkwardly. Mirio and Tamaki noticed and were confused, but they shrugged it off. Anyways, would like to talk to you about your quirk? Mirio said to me loudly. Quirk? I said back at them confused. That's alright. Nejire said, still blushing. On lunchtime we went to the cafeteria and sat in an empty table close to the edge where no one sits there because of a legend. After about 20 minutes of explaining them my quirk they bombarded me with questions, especially Nejire. Some of them I couldn't answer. 7. Oh, so that's your quirk. What a powerful quirk. Mirio said, surprised. Yeah, that's my quirk, I said in a dry voice. Then they huddled up in a circle. I just stared quietly. You really have a powerful quirk. We can help you improve your quirk by training with us. Mirio said, offering me a chance to make one for all's power myself. Really? I said to them, surprised. Yes, we can help you improve your quirk, said Nejire. If you join us we can call ourselves the Big Four or something like that, Mirio said to all of us. You could surpass us if your quirk is strong enough to defeat villains and if you're strong enough to not get hurt while using it at its full strength, Tamaki said to me with a serious look on his face. 28 bell rings. Oh, well that's all the time we have. Tell us if you want to join us and we can start next week. Mirio said while waving goodbye to me. After classes, they want you to join them. Everyone said loudly. Why, I replied then. Hey Deku. How come you received special training with the seniors? Kaken said while walking up to me. Kirishima stopped him in tracks and luckily he made him calm down. I sighed, then I went back to my room. 9 The next day I yawned while stretching my arms and I went to the bathroom to do my business. Everything went okay. Then on lunchtime I was at the line getting food. Then the big three walked up to me again and asked me questions rapidly like lightning fast speed. So, Izuku, are you joining us? Said Nejire, wanting to know my answer. Weiss. I'm joining. Nejire smiled and hugged me. At this point I was panicking inside my head, saying things like, what's going on? Is she really hugging me? What's really happening? I said these things inside my head over and over until 4 Midoriya. What are you doing? I heard Mineta say this in front of me with an evil voice like he was about to RPE me. I quickly picked up Nejire and activated one for all at 8%. Mirio was smiling while Tamaki was confused. I jumped and ran out of the cafeteria while still holding Nejire in my arms, and when I knew I was out of Mineta's sight I quickly realized that I was holding a girl the whole time while running around the school. I blushed as I saw her face blushing intensely. I then put her down gently and stuttered random things. Are you? Okay. Are you? 𝐻𝐻𝐿. Fine, she replied while blushing and stuttering. 37 Mirio suddenly appeared on the ground with his head popping up. So, you two had a fun adventure? I screamed in shock. Mirio? I said, looking at him. No. Mirio continued to tease her. Stop it, Mirio. Nejire said to Mirio. The bell rang again and I could notice a hint of sadness in Nejire's face while saying goodbye to her and Mirio. Well, he's putting his clothes back on. After school I went back to my dorm and slept while thinking about what happened earlier, and not long after I fell asleep. A week has passed and everything was going great for Midoriya. Well, not every day. Kaken still gets angry with Midoriya getting to train with the seniors and not him, while the others were training harder, thinking that Midoriya might surpass them. This was the first day of his training with the big three, but something else happens. 10 Midoriya POV. I woke up at 8 a.m. in the morning and as usual everyone was talking about me and the big three. Midoriya, are you going to train with the big three today? 𝐎𝑚𝐼𝐴 said to me while she suddenly walks closer to hear my answer. Yes, I'm going to train with the big three today, I replied to her. Okay, she said to me. I could notice that she was sad. Don't worry. I won't push myself too hard, I said to 𝐎𝑚𝐼𝐴. Then she hugged me tight. I hope you'll promise me that, 𝐎𝑚𝐼𝐴 replied sadly. At this moment I was blushing. I said to her, stuttering. While I was walking to the others I saw Mineta running towards me. Midoriya. 𝐒𝐻𝐼𝐴. He said loudly. And Mineta. He then grabbed my shirt along with Kaminari. 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐆𝐷. Why are so close with Nejire, the hottest girl in class 3A? They said at me while tearing up. 10 The girls heard what the two perverts said. Midoriya was with Nejire. The other girls said while squealing, except for 𝐒𝑚𝐼𝐴, Azui, Hagakure, and Yaoyorozu, who really didn't know what happened. Mina saw everything that happened a week ago, but others were confused as to what really happened. Someone's got a crush. Mina said, alerting the other boys. I don't. I said to Mina while trying to stop her from shipping me and Nejire. Who's got a crush? Kirishima asked Mina and the other girls, while I tried stopping Mineta and Kaminari from killing me. He was with a senior. Kirishima replied, shocked. At this point Kirishima was telling everything at the boys. Deku, you already have a woman. Kaken said angrily, and now all the boys grouped up and ran at me, restraining me on the ground with my hands at my back. How come this, you already have a girlfriend? Kirishima and Kaminari said this at the same time. I told you I don't have a crush or a G-girlfriend. I replied, trying to get up. Don't lie, Midoriya, we clearly heard it from Mina and she's the shipping goddess. Ida eagerly said to me. Then all of a sudden the big three along with Aizawa-sensei came. Aizawa-sensei used his bandages and pulled the boys away from my back. Thanks, I said to Aizawa-sensei. Nejire was curious and all of a sudden she asked me questions as to what happened. I told her about what happened and about yesterday. As soon as she remembered what happened yesterday she was as red as a tomato. Mirio and Tamaki saw this and they poked Nejire out of her dreams and she unconsciously activated her quirk, making her fly everywhere. And Nejire? I said to her as she was approaching me with her quirk. She then hit my head with her 𝐻𝐻𝐿. I screamed in pain as I went down on the ground. She snapped out of it and as she opened her eyes, she knew she was lying on my chest with her chest on mine. BB bub. That's what I said as I passed out because of thinking RDC things. 54 Nejire POV. I walked with Mirio and Tamaki as always. It was 7:40 a.m. in the morning and we were making our way to Midoriya for his training when Aizawa-sensei walked up to us and told us if we could meet Class 1A to explain about hero stuff. I wasn't listening to Aizawa-sensei because I was looking outside the window thinking about Midoriya. Nejire, are you still there? Mirio said to me while waving his hand, making me snap out of my daydream. Yes? I replied to him. After a few moments we started walking to the dorms of Class 1A. I was very excited to see the dorms and see Midoriya with his sleeping clothes on. I giggled until... Nejire, why are you giggling? Tamaki questioned me. I was 𝐒𝐬𝐳. Nothing, I replied with hesitation. You sure you were smiling for no reason? Tamaki asked me again. I always smile. I said while thinking about Midoriya. I didn't notice I was blushing, but not too long we were there. Sigh. I'm glad no one saw me blushing, I simply said inside my head. When we opened the door I was shocked to see Midoriya on the ground being restrained by the boys. I clenched a fist, but when I was about to say something Aizawa-sensei used his bandages and pulled them away from Midoriya's back. I ran to him and asked him about what happened. He explained it and mentioned about what happened yesterday. I quickly remembered it and blushed intensely while thinking about Midoriya and I being together. Mirio and Tamaki poked me and I unconsciously activated my quirk, making me hit Midoriya in the head. After I hit Midoriya on the head I went back into reality, but I had my eyes closed because I felt pain on my head. Oh ow, I said, and I felt something like a soft fabric on my elbow as I looked up. I was now on Midoriya's chest. What's happening? I screamed inside my head and before I knew it he passed out. Mirio pivoted. Hey, what's going on here? I said to Nejire and Midoriya who were on the ground. Nejire quickly got back up and she was really blushing intensely. And nothing, Mirio. Nejire said to me while blushing and with smoke coming out of her ears. Oh really? I said while teasing her. Nothing, she replied back to me. I looked at Midoriya and saw he passed out while, oh, it looks like we can't train today. I said to Tamaki and Nejire. Okay, Tamaki replied while trembling because of how many people there were. And no, we need to wake him up. Nejire said to me while shaking Midoriya back and forth. Sorry Nejire, we just have to hope that he will wake up early. I replied to her while pulling her away from Midoriya. Oh. She said going back to Midoriya. That's enough, Aizawa-sensei said, using his bandages to pull Nejire away from Midoriya and letting the others take him to the infirmary where he'll be there until he wakes up. 4 hours later, Midoriya POV. WMI, I said to myself feeling dizzy. Oh great, you're awake. Mirio eagerly said to me. My other classmates and the other two Tamaki and Nejire were there looking at me. They had worried looks in their faces, especially Nejire. I could see the worried look in her eyes. She was about to say something, but all of a sudden Ida spoke loudly. Midoriya. Are you okay? He said while waving his arms up and down. Yes, I'm fine, I replied to him while smiling. Alright people, head to your classrooms and we'll meet there, Aizawa-sensei said to all of us. What's going on? I asked Mirio. Oh, you were asleep for 4 hours. Mirio replied quickly. I was asleep for that long. I replied to him with a shocked face. Yes, and there was also someone here who accompanied you. Mirio said while looking at Nejire. And no, it wasn't me. She said while gently slapping Mirio's shoulder. The other boys pulled her away from Mirio. It was Nejire, by the way, Mirio whispered near me. I looked at Nejire and smiled, thinking that she was accompanying me the whole time. The day went great, although I missed breakfast and lunch. At this point I was hungry. 14 grumbling stomach. My stomach grumbled, and it could be heard everywhere during class. Midoriya, are you okay? 𝐎𝐻𝐿 questioned me. Yeah, I'm just hungry, I said to her while holding my stomach. Oh yeah, that reminds me, you haven't eaten breakfast and lunch, she said excitedly. Luckily I have enough food to give you. She quickly grabbed the food under her desk. Where did you get all that food? I replied, shocked, looking at the most delicious food that she was about to give me. It's from my parents, I didn't eat it. I wanted to try the school's food for a change. 𝐎𝐻𝐿 rapidly puts it on my desk and I could smell the 𝐻𝐿𝐴. So good. It was all I could say from the delicious odor that was coming out of the plastic bag. Everyone, do you want to try? I have enough for all of you. 𝐎𝐻𝐿 said to everybody, wanting them to try her parents' cooking. So good. Mina said while Kirishima chowed down and ate like he didn't eat in the past week. There were different foods altogether and all of them were fantastic. Yaoyorozu, why did you hide this from us? 𝐎𝐸𝐻𝑖𝑅𝑜 said, eagerly wanting to know what her answer is. I never knew you guys would like my parents' cooking. From now on I will bring food if you want me to. Yaoyorozu said to everyone. Yeah. Everybody said this at the same time, and this continues the class 1A buffet. One after classes, thanks for the food, Yaoyorozu. 𝐎𝐸𝐻𝑖𝑅𝑜 said while waving goodbye to her. We all went to our dorms and talked about our day. Hey Midoriya. What was it like feeling the chest of Nejire? I blushed and stuttered random stuff. Was nothing really. Are you sure? They asked me again. I could see Mineta looking at me with jealousy in his eyes. It was 10:30 p.m. And it was getting late, so we decided to sleep. Midoriya, you won't get away with this, Mineta said to me as he closed the door with an evil glare in his eyes. I went back to my room only to notice something fluffy and soft was under my blanket. I got up and removed the blanket, revealing a girl under it. It was too dark to see anything, but I could pinpoint that she had long hair reaching down to her legs and she was breathing softly. 9. I turned on the lights and it revealed that Nejire was under my bed. 𝗕𝗶𝗯𝗹𝗶. This was all I could say inside my head. Her hair was wrapped around her waist and I tell you, cute. What do I do? What's going to happen? Why is she here? I mumbled to myself over and over. Then she was moving her arms and one of her arms hit me in the face with her hand open. I could smell her hand. It smelled like daisies. It smells nice, I said to myself, thinking about how to get her out of here without waking everyone up. I mumbled and mumbled until I came up with a solution, but when I was just planning it out she was about to wake up. I hid under the bed and waited for her to walk out of the door, but she was just there. I hid silently until I heard her talking to herself. She was talking about me. She was talking about how I was cute and smart. Why would she have a crush on me? Is this real? This was all I could say to myself. Guess he's still not here, Nejire said while putting on her slippers, but one of her slipper was on my hand because I tried to reach for my phone that fell off my pocket. She put them on and stepped on my foot, causing me to gasp and scream silently. I thought she wouldn't hear me, but she heard me and she started to look where the sound was coming from. Nejire looked down on the bed and she was now staring at me. It was a normal day, nothing much has happened in their lives. I guess you could say that the villains have taken a break. No, they started planning their biggest threat yet and just started to grow in the darkness. This continues the part where Nejire found Midoriya under the bed. Midoriya POV CRP. She saw. What do I do? I sat there like an idiot, not knowing what to do. Just when I was about to run out, Nejire smiled. There you are, she said to me with the cutest smile you could ever see. Were you hiding from me? I tried to think of an answer. Yes. I was hiding from. Why? I replied, smiling at Nejire. Come. She held out her hand and I reached out my other hand. I felt her soft skin go through my palm like waterfall. So soft. She pulled me out under my bed and she slapped the back of my head. I said, still in pain from the slap. Why were you hiding from me? She started to question me. Am I just? I tried to answer politely. You weren't thinking of getting rid of me, right? She asked me again with a sad expression on her face. No. I wasn't thinking about that. I said, not to make her sadder. You sure? Nejire asked with her eyes wide open and face up close. Why? I replied with a red face. The whole world stopped as someone opened the door. We both froze there like a couple of sitting ducks. I activated One for All and quickly opened the window and grabbed Nejire. I jumped out and ran as far as possible. I tripped and fell upon Nejire's chest. We both blushed and stood up with smoke coming out of my ears. 𝗕𝗶𝗯𝗹𝗶. I simply said inside my head. I could notice a leg coming from inside the ground. I was now scared. I panicked only to notice a silhouette arising from the ground. I was quivering while I said this. Nejire noticed what I was looking at and jumped at me, screaming. I couldn't grab her and we both fell with her face upon mine. This time we were holding hands. Her face was red and it looked like she was about to explode while I was also the same. This position. It looks like something out of a mature film. Some of our classmates came out and looked for the scream they just heard. What was that? I heard Sato say this while running towards our direction with a flashlight. There it is. I heard 𝐒𝐸𝐻𝑖𝑅𝑜 coming from our right. We couldn't move. It's like we were stuck with glue. Nejire and I heard everyone's footsteps following 𝐒𝐸𝐻𝑖𝑅𝑜. A light shined at our faces and we saw all of them with surprised looks on their faces. What is happening? The others looked away from Nejire and I, Midoriya. You 𝐕𝑠TRD. Why are already doing it with Nejire? Minato said with jealousy, and while tearing up, also Kaminari tried to use his quirk on me, 𝗕𝗁. And not what why you think. I replied while activating one for all at 8% and jumping as high as I could before the boys caught me. Nejire used her quirk and made us fly to safety while still holding one of her hands. We got into the gamma field where no one was and we thought it would be safe. Nejire stopped blushing while I was catching my breath. We were still holding our hands, but she quickly removed her hand from mine. I'm so sorry, Nejire said to me while bowing her head. Oh, it was my fault. I tried not to let her blame herself for what happened. Nejire fell down on her knees and began to cry. Sorry, she said to me while covering her face. At this very moment I couldn't help but hug her and put her near my chest. WIAR. Yo, I was interrupted by her. I can't do things right, I always am this. Things up, she replied. But it wasn't your fault? I said politely, it was my fault. If I just woke you up on my bed then this wouldn't have happened, and if I didn't become a coward just by looking at. I was interrupted again. Stop, she screamed at me, stop saying that. It wasn't my fault. People always say this when this happens. But I know they're just trying to make me feel better, she said while still crying. I always wanted to become a hero to save people, but how can I save people when all I do is mess things up? I hate myself. My heart sank as I heard her say this. I was saddened to see her cry, and that made me cry too. All I want is to change my personality. I can't do anything right. I'm a failure. I clenched a fist thinking about what she just said. Don't you ever say that you're a failure and that you hate yourself. I screamed at the top of my lung. You aren't a failure, I mean it, I said while trying to make her feel better. But I made your classmates think that we were. I interrupted her. Who cares about what they think? You. And you should be proud of that. I saw her getting enlightened by what I said. I once told myself, flashback, sometimes I do feel like I'm a failure. Like there's no hope for me. But even so, I'm not gonna give up. Ever. 15 End of flashback. You're not a failure, Nejire. Like in life, giving up solves nothing. If it's worth pursuing and you're capable, giving up won't accomplish anything. You can become a hero even if it means goofing around. You can't expect that everything in life will always go as the way you want. There will always be times where you will get hurt, but that's okay because you saved someone. I continued my long speech. It wasn't long after that she hugged me tight. Thank you, she said close to me. I hugged her back and felt her soft hair go through my fingers. The sun rose up, the light flashed before my eyes. It's daytime, I said to myself. Hey Nejire. At this point Nejire was asleep and snoring like a baby. Used my quirk and headed back to the dorms to put her on my bed, but first I made sure no one was around so I won't get into trouble again. It was successful, was able to put her on my bed. I closed the door and saw Minato pointing at me with Aizawa-sensei. Aizawa-sens. Before I knew it I was wrapped up in his bandages. I got an earful saying that I did it with Nejire while Kaminari and Minato were smiling at the background. I explained what really happened and Aizawa-sensei also explained that Mirio guards the dorms along with Tamaki and Nejire. They only guard it from 10 to 12 o'clock. They would take turns every hour. First was Mirio, next was Tamaki, and last was Nejire. Aizawa-sensei said that he let her sleep in my room and that he would make a letter saying that she was in there, but he was called by the principal and asked to go to his office. Not long after he was called, I brushed my teeth and was getting ready for bed. Oh, so that explains it? I said in realization. Yeah, that's what happened, Tokoyami said to me next to Aizawa-sensei. 7 Aizawa-sensei asked me where is Nejire and I said that she's sleeping inside my room. He gave me a warning after this and everything went back to normal. Meanwhile, twice POV, is this really your base? It's unsanitary, a man with a mask said while walking with me. This isn't really our base, it's kinda like an interview room, I replied to him. Let's just get this over with, he replied back to me. I opened the door and everyone was now looking at us here. I brought another one, I said, alerting everyone that a newcomer has arrived. 6 Shigaraki POV. So you brought another one, huh? Twice. The next day Midoriya POV I woke up with something fluffy covering my left arm. What's this? I said to myself thinking that a teddy bear was on my bed. Wait a second, I quickly realized that I was sleeping with a girl this whole time. How have I not noticed this? Let's see, I was getting an earful yesterday. I continued to mutter and saw that Nejire was about to wake up. I panicked and pretended that I was still asleep and hid under my blanket. She yawned with the cutest yawn I've ever heard. Where am I? She asked herself. Am I? Wait, what? She realized that she was sleeping with me this whole time. She spoke to herself. Good thing he's still not here, I need to take a bath. I heard her say this and blushed thinking that I was taking a bath with her. I should get my towel. Wait, should I use Midoriya's instead? I pulled my blanket down making only my eye visible and I could see her sniffing my towel. What? What is she doing? I panicked inside my head as she continued to sniff my towel. Sniff, sniff, I could hear her sniff my towel. Please stop. I wanted her to stop sniffing my towel. But after this I was sleepy because I didn't have that much sleep. After a few minutes I was woken up by the sound of my bathroom door being opened. 10 Nejire POV his smell is amazing. I sniffed his towel wanting to know more about his scent. Not long after I saw his shampoo and soap next to his table. He readied his stuff so early. I opened the cap and smelled his shampoo. It smells nice. I was now smelling his soap. It smells like mint. He was using mint this whole time. I started to get curious and went to go through his stuff. I saw his comb and clothes. I even saw his underwear drawer, but I didn't open it. I sniffed his comb and it smells like his shampoo. His clothes smell like lilies, my favorite. I said inside my head. I ravaged through his stuff making a mess. I saw his mirror, action figures, and pretty much all of it were All Might design stuff. I played with his action figures and dropped one. Oh no. I picked it up and I unconsciously touched his All Might alarm clock making a noise around his room. I am here. The alarm clock said over and over until I was able to make it stop. Phew. I sighed. Good thing he didn't wake up. I went back to ravaging through his stuff. Is that everything? I got tired and put everything back where they were nearly perfect. After a while I decided to use his bathroom and removed my clothes and put on Midoriya's towel, but when I was about to step in I noticed a head peeking out of Midoriya's blanket. I removed the blanket and I saw Midoriya with his eyes wide open looking at me. We both blushed intensely. I screamed and went inside the bathroom, locking myself inside. I was talking to myself, why and how is he here? I questioned myself over and over. I thought he wasn't inside. I heard people running toward Midoriya's room and asking who was screaming. 6 Midoriya POV I was now clearly shocked and frozen to see Nejire with only her towel on. I was slapped by Azui and that made me snap out of my dream. Are you okay, Midoriya? Siro asked me as I composed myself. Midoriya, who was that girl screaming? Yeah, was that? Kaminari and Todoroki asked me. One of the girls knocked at my bathroom door only to reveal Nejire's head peeking out of the bathroom door. Yairozu quickly made a giant clothing to cover Nejire's body and the Azui slapped us using her tongue for us to look away from Nejire. She was brought to the girl's room where she put on her clothes. Midoriya, when did you get to see her fine body? USXL maniac. Mineta tried to strangle me only to be blown away by Kaken. Hey DMN Deku. How are you so close with that senior plus? Didn't I tell you that I will be the first person to have a woman's? Kaken shouted angrily. How can you get girls with that kind of attitude? Siro and Kirishima chuckled. Then what did you say? Kaken aimed for Siro and Kirishima and he created an explosion. The girls came out of the room and asked me about what happened. WL. You see, Kaken was angered because of what Siro and Kirishima said to him, so when I looked at Kaken I clearly saw him looking at me with an angry expression in his face, but all of a sudden Mirio and Tamaki came inside our dorms and greeted us. Hey, Mirio then walked to me and said that training starts after school. I agreed and went to my room getting ready for school. After school, when I was ready for training, Mirio said that we would have our training session at the Gamma field and go to the gym afterwards. I agreed and went with them. A few minutes later, we're here. Mirio said while his arms were widely opened. Let's start with basic combat training. I was shocked to hear that we were gonna fight already. I stuttered. Get ready, Midoriya. I activated my quirk and began to run towards Mirio. I kicked him, but he activated his quirk and I slipped through him. Just when I was about to attack again, Tamaki used his tentacle hands to restrain me. 𝐕𝗫𝗍𝐵, I can't move. Then Nejire came in and she used her quirk, which blew me away. I said as I came racing towards a building, hitting it. I opened my eyes and I was inside the building. I can't fight them all at once, I have to split them up. I said as I planned something fast. A hand came out and it was about to punch me, but I was able to dodge it in time. You're good at dodging, Midoriya, Mirio said while he showed his head, and he headbutted me, causing me to feel dizzy. Gee. I screamed in pain as Tamaki used his quirk and he made me fly out of the building. I can't move. I was restrained again by Tamaki's tentacle hands, but this time I was lying on the ground. I need to get out of here and think of a plan. I used my quirk and punched through Tamaki's tentacle hands, only to be stopped with his giant clam shield. Wham! I was about to say something when all of a sudden Nejire blasted me away with her quirk, causing me to scream in pain. I tumbled against another building. It's a 3v1 battle. That's not fair, I said to the three of them walking towards me. In a battle isn't fair, you just have to get through it. Oh, and one more thing, you have to expect the unexpected. Mirio then went through the ground and punched me in the gut, making me fall on the ground. My stomach hurts, I said as I groaned in pain. Sorry, Mirio said to me while chuckling. I told you, you should learn to hold back, Tamaki said to Mirio facing the wall. Are you okay? Nejire was worried about me and asked me several times before I was able to say yes. A few moments later, 9. Well then, let's go to the gym. Mirio said energetically. Okay, we went to the gym and we started to change to our gym clothes. I was wearing a tank top while Mirio, Nejire and Tamaki were wearing identical t-shirts that says the Big Three. I didn't bother them and started to do my exercises. The training went on for about 2 hours and I was exhausted. I grabbed my water and drank, only to notice there was already no water inside. I'm gonna get more water, I said to Mirio and Tamaki. Mirio replied. I was going to get water when I noticed that Nejire was also there getting water. She blushed as she saw my toned 8-pack abs and toned arms. Midoriya, she said while covering her eyes and looking away from my body. What? I questioned her and looked down on my tank top, only to notice that my tank top was stick to my body like glue and my 8-pack could be seen. Sorry. I ran back and changed my clothes and came back as fast as I could. Nejire was still there filling her water bottle with Mirio and Tamaki's water bottle there too. Hey Nejire. I greeted her. Hello, Midoriya, she said, not making any eye contact with me and still blushing. It's okay. You can look now, I replied to her. You sure? Nejire asked me to make sure that I wasn't pranking her or anything. Why yes, I quickly replied. She looked at me with smoke coming out of her ears. Nejire, are you okay? I screamed, yes, I'm fine. Nejire was just standing there while I did the same. What are you two lovebirds doing? Mirio said behind me. Mirio, how long have you been in here? I said to him while screaming at the top of my lungs. Mirio laughed. I saw everything, he replied to me. Mirio, to get out of here, Nejire said to Mirio as Tamaki just sat there watching the two of them. Mirio then continued to tease Nejire. Could we wrap this up? It's already 6 o'clock, Tamaki impatiently said to us. Okay, Tamaki. Mirio replied to Tamaki while I tried to pull Nejire away from him. We headed back to our dorms. It wasn't long after that I asked Nejire about something. Hey Nejire, I simply said to her with a smile on my face. Yeah, she replied. I was wondering, why were you sniffing my things? She blushed and walked away from me. Oh, would you look at that? Your dorms are right there. Nejire pointed at the dorms and walked with Mirio and Tamaki. Well, see you, Midoriya. Mirio waved goodbye at me and we went our separate ways. I got back to my dorm and thought about the fight we had earlier. I need to think of something fast. I muttered inside my head while changing my clothes. I went to bed. After a few seconds I was asleep. Is he here? I heard someone said this outside my window. I sat up and looked outside, but I saw nothing. I went back to bed and I could hear footsteps near me. Next thing you know, I was kidnapped by a man. Midoriya POV. What's happening? I was kidnapped by a man and a potato sack was put on my face. I tried to scream for help, but every time I yelled I got punched in the gut so hard it made me spit out BLD. Shut up, the kidnapper said to me angrily. The kidnapper then tied me onto a board with some kind of belt. Hey, don't kill him. The boss said so. I heard another man say as he walked up to me. Hello. Midoriya, so good to see you here, he said closely to my face. Who are you? I fearfully replied to him, but he didn't answer. The boss wants to see his face, the other told the guy in front of me. Okay, the man then removed the sack from my face. What? I said as I saw a group of people standing 20 feet away from me. I never knew you looked like a coward. The other men laughed as he said this. Now we don't want to scare the boy, a big manly voice echoed through the room. Then a big man approached me. So are you Midoriya? He asked me while I just stared at him for 5 seconds. I said, are you Midoriya? He punched me in my chest and it made me scream in pain. I screamed while spitting out BLD. I am, I replied to the big man in front of me. Well then let's start. The group of men brought a syringe to the big man and he walked up to me. This won't hurt a bit. The big man injected me with some kind of drag and it made me lose sense of what's happening. What's this? I went to sleep after I was injected with the drag. Where am I? I quietly said as I looked around and realized that I was kidnapped earlier. Oh good, you're awake, the big man said with a smile on his face. Release him, he said to his men, and indeed they really did release me. I was composing myself when all of a sudden the big man punched me in the face, causing me to fall back again on the board. Tie him up. A group of men started to tie me up and gathered in front of me. Do you know who I am? He asked me. No, I replied to him. My name is Iwamoto Kiyoshi and I was hired to torture you. Ain't that fun? My left leg wasn't tied up yet and I used that advantage to kick him in the chin, only to be stopped with his super fast reflex. He then crushed my foot, making me scream in pain. I looked at the people in front of me and they all had weapons, others weren't holding anything. I tried to use my quirk but it didn't work. It's no use, kid, we have drugged you with a very special drag that makes your quirk useless for 10 minutes, the man with a bat said to me. Well, shall we start the fun? A few moments earlier, Nejire POV few. I got away from that question. I said to myself in relief, are you sure? Mirio said with a smile on his face. What do you mean? I said to him, thinking that he might have heard Midoriya's question. Oh, nothing. Mirio walked faster and went with Tamaki to talk to him. The day went well and we all got to our rooms. I can't believe Midoriya would ask me that. I got changed and ate dinner with Mirio and Tamaki. So Nejire, what's your opinion about Midoriya's body? Mirio said excitedly while he caught the attention of the others. I blushed and froze for a good 2 seconds when suddenly Class 1A came in. Nejire, have you seen Midoriya? They screamed at everyone in the cafeteria. I replied confused, weren't you with him earlier? Uraraka asked me. I thought he was going to sleep early, I replied when Mirio asked them what happened. I see, Mirio said in realization. Why, what's wrong? I asked Mirio. It seems that Midoriya has been kidnapped. He shouted. I replied in shock to what he just said. We gotta save him. I walked over to Class 1A and asked them a bunch of questions. Sorry, as far as I know Midoriya has been quiet and very serious with school for the past days, Kirishima replied as I went on with my interrogation. How about you, sir? What? Bakugo shouted at me. I don't think he was included in the kidnapping. Kirishima's sweat dropped. Ugh, how are we going to find Midoriya? I walked over to the other girls who were planning out something. Whatcha doing? I looked over the girls and saw that they were going to do something to me. Nejire, are you up for it? Tsuyu said this while the other girls were getting something from their bags. I screamed while they put a dress on me. What's this? I was confused to what the girls had planned. You're going to get the attention of the kidnappers with the power of Stockton? Mina energetically shouted. Well, if they ever come back, Jiro said in doubt. A few minutes later, there's someone coming. Uraraka alerted everyone. Nejire, are you ready? Yaoyorozu said while she put a disguise on the girls. I nodded and went to the man. Huh? The man was confused. Could you tell me where's the dorms? I asked the man. They're over there. The man blushed and pointed at the dorms. I walked over to him and touched his body. The man dropped his weapon and was frozen. Hello, what's your name? I seductively said to the man. Say, want to come with us? The man replied. Oh, I would love to, I replied back, but there's just one thing, I said to him saddened. What's wrong? The man asked me. Girls now? Yaoyorozu threw a blanket over the man, preventing him from seeing us. What's happening? The man fell to the ground and we punched him unconscious. Where am I? The man was tied up in a chair. Tell me, mister, Were you part of the kidnapping? I asked the man. What are you talking about? The man replied in confusion. Won't talk? I bet this will make you talk. Kaminari shocked him with at least 10 volts of electricity. The man screamed in pain. Talk? I shouted at the man. Okay. They took the boy to the warehouse where they will do experiments on his quirk. The man replied as he feared for his life. Where's the warehouse? I questioned him again. It's just down the road. He then breathed heavily. What kind of experiments are they going to do? I asked him. I don't know, maybe they'll steal his quirk. He was taped shut and we put earmuffs on him to prevent him from hearing us. We talked about what we were going to do and we planned it as quick as possible. We then removed the earmuffs and the tape. Is that it? I asked him again. That's all I know, the man said as he passed out from fear. 5 minutes later, Midoriya POV. I screamed in pain. Kick him. They kicked me and punched me until they were tired. I screamed over and over and I spit it out BLD. All emites. I was punched again in the face, causing me to spit out more BLD. This is fun. Now let's use the weapons. Iwamoto walked over me and smacked me with a bat to go. He did this over and over until the bat broke. He ripped my shirt off and punched me in the gut, making me spit out more BLD. Your body isn't going to last long. Iwamoto smiled at me and gave me a glare. You take care now. He walked away and the other men grouped up. They tightened my restraints and continued to beat me up. Aren't you tired? The man whispered to me. I didn't speak and he punched me with his quirk, making my restraints break. You broke the chain, idiot. The man with the long fingers said to him. I couldn't help it. He wasn't speaking. The man replied angrily. They then continued to use their weapons on me and tied me with a stronger chain. They broke my leg, my arms, and fractured my ribcage. They even damaged my stomach. I was now unconscious at this point, and the last thing I saw was my classmates peeking through the window. 3 Nejire Hado. You ready? Mirio asked me and we went down the hill. Look through the window, Mirio whispered to me, and all the other girls looked through. 𝐒𝐻𝐻? I was shocked as I looked at a bloody Midoriya beaten up by the men inside. All of us had the same reaction. What did they do? Kirishima screamed while he held his breath. I won't let this happen again, come on guys. I alerted everyone and we barraged inside using Kirishima's quirk. We all screamed as we broke through the door. It's you? Get them. We fought our way through the men and fortunately we got to Midoriya. Midoriya? We all screamed, fearing that he might die. Please be okay. I teardropped. I am okay, Midoriya replied, and we all hugged him in relief. We're so glad you're okay. Uraraka cried. It's okay, Uraraka, Midoriya said while catching his breath. Oh, how convenient. I love reunions. Their boss walked out of the office. How could you do this to Midoriya? Kirishima tried to punch him, but he was stopped by the man's brute force. Kirishima? We screamed and we attacked the boss. It wasn't long after Mirio and Tamaki stopped him. He eventually got arrested, and so as the other guys, Midoriya was brought to a hospital where he was in for a couple of weeks. A few weeks later, Midoriya POV. I got back to the dorms after I was released from the hospital. Midoriya, you're okay. Everyone screamed and hugged me at the same time. Why yes, I replied while smiling. Midoriya? Nejire ran to me and asked me a bunch of questions. Mirio smiled while Tamaki faced the wall. Are you really okay? Nejire asked me. Yeah, are you sure? Mineta also questioned me. Guys, really I am fine. I smiled at everyone and they did too. Well, I think that's settled. Midoriya was rescued and everything will go back to normal. Ida waved his arms while shouting, calm down Ida. Uraraka's sweat dropped. The day went well, nothing much happened but people still ask me questions as to what happened that day. It was really annoying but it stopped. A few hours later, Shigaraki POV. So he failed, typical. Don't worry, Amisty. Twice shouted, this time we won't fail. Are you sure? Yes, I am very sure because this time this kid will help us. Aizawa POV. That's all for today. I left the students inside their classroom and walked to the office to do my work, but then Eraser. Is that you? Joke shouted while she walked with Principal Nizu. It is you. She shouted again. Yug, I tried to walk away when the principal called me and said that we were going to work together. Eraser, we're going to be working together. Let's go out, Amy said, convincing me no. She laughed but I ignored her. Let's just get this over with. We then walked to my office to do some work. Oh, this is your office. She was shocked to see my office that was pretty much boring. You can look but don't touch anything. Except your workplace, I said while I sat down and did my paperwork. Man, this is many. I saw a bottle rolling towards me and heard Joke fall. Whoa, she screamed. Hey, are you okay? I ran to the stockroom and saw her lying on the ground. Oh wow. We both stared at each other for a good 5 seconds. Oh, erase her head. It's you. Sorry for the mess, she quickly said like she was in a hurry. It's a good thing you aren't hurt or else I would have taken you to the infirmary. I picked her up while holding her hand. Can you walk? I asked her, and she replied. Okay, we then took a small step when suddenly she held her right leg. What's wrong? I questioned her as to why she was hurt, and nothing. Let's go. I ignored her answer and looked at to what she was covering with her hand. You got an injury. I knew this would happen. I carried her and made her sit on a table. What are yo? I quickly put alcohol on the towel and put it on her leg. Ow, ow, ow. She closed her eyes trying to endure the pain. Does it hurt? I asked her. Not really, she said, still enduring the pain. Tell me the truth, Joke, I asked her impatiently. Okay, it hurts. She replied in relief. I'm going to take care of your wound. It looks like we're going to be here for a while. She blushed and looked away from me. What is it? I walked over to her and saw that she was blushing. Her face got more red as she looked at me. Eraser. Don't look at me. She looked away from me the second time. All right, I'll just take care of your wound. I continued to put alcohol on her leg. Aren't you going to take me to the recovery, girl? She asked me, confused. This is just a small wound and it will heal faster, plus we will be inconveniencing her. I then put a bandage on her leg and carried her. Can you walk? I think so, she replied. I put her down gently. You okay? I said while still holding her hand. Yeah, I think I can manage. I let go of her hand and she began to walk like a baby, taking her first steps. We continued to do our work. After a few hours we were tired. By the way, I haven't asked you, why are you here? I questioned her. Oh, my boss said to try different schools and experience their works, she replied to me. Okay, I worked for about an hour and I was tired. Eraser. Are you there? Emmy waved her hand in front of me, making me wake up. What? I realized that I was asleep. You slept like a baby, Emmy smiled. What time is it? I looked at the clock and saw that it was 11 p.m. in the evening. Ugh, I wasted time. I regretted sleeping. I thought I could sleep for only 10 minutes, but I slept for 1 hour. Wait, where are the other teachers? She asked me, looking for everyone. They left early. They didn't have that much work, I replied while rubbing my eyes. Oh, eraser. Joke shouted. What? I was confused as to why she was screaming. Why, your fly is down, she chuckled a bit. No, it's not. I knew she was pranking, but I fell for it and looked down on my zipper. You fell for it? She continued to laugh loudly. Why do I always have to be with her? I dragged her to her workplace and told her to start working. Okay, ha. She laughed, but I ignored her and started to do my paperwork. It went for about 2 hours and I was tired as heck. Then we finished it, she said to me. Yeah, I'm gonna go sleep now. I walked to my table and bowed my head, but Joke was so loud that she made me wake up. Izuku, are you really sleeping? She questioned me while chuckling. I can't sleep if you're here, I replied. We should go out, she suddenly suggested. We can't, it's late. She then dragged my hand out of the office. I tried to pull my hand, but her grip was strong. It'll be fun, she said while we walked for a few minutes. Finally we were there. It was a place that was too dark to see. Welcome to my place. She opened the lights and I saw her room. It was a bed, a couch, and just a regular room. Why are we here? I asked her. Oh, nothing. She went to the kitchen and I walked with her. Surprise. She shouted. What's this? I simply asked her. It's for our anniversary, ding dong. She smiled and laughed. I don't remember us having an anniversary. I walked over to the cake that said, Happy Anniversary to US. Why do we have an anniversary? I asked Joke, who was simply saddened. You don't remember? She was saddened more. Tell me, what is it? I asked her while being serious. It was time when we met. She looked at the ground. Is that so? I quickly felt something inside of me that was there, but I couldn't describe it. It's okay, you can go now, I guess. She walked out of the kitchen while looking at the ground. I felt her sadness and held her hand. Don't go. She stopped for a brief moment. What am I doing? I never thought I would be this kind of person. Just go before I change my mind, Joke said to me with a little bit of anger. Then who's going to eat the cake? I tried to act concerned, but I felt that I really was concerned about her. I'll just eat it later, now go. You said it's late. She let go of my hand and walked faster, but I stopped her and hugged her. Just go, she shouted and got out of my hug. Are you really concerned about me, or are you just acting that you are? Joke teared up. Joe, I was interrupted. Stop it. Stop acting like you really care about me. You're always like that. You're still the same boring person I know. I was angered by what she said. Hey. I shouted and it echoed through the room. Look, I'm sorry I forgot our anniversary, but that doesn't mean I don't care about you. I wanted to continue what I wanted to say, but she interrupted me and told me that I was the worst guy in the world. I hate you. Joke shouted so loud it could be heard around the room. Why are you always like this? I hate this side of you. You don't like me at all, do you? She contemplated and cried. Joke, I was stopped again. What's your problem? Am I too much of a joke to you, or am I just a girl who loved a guy who doesn't even love me back? She said, still crying, I really hate this. I hate that I loved someone like you. She hit me in the chest lightly. What am I to you? She asked me. I couldn't say anything and we stood there silently. Okay, if that's the way you want it. You can get out. Joke pointed at the door. Just get out. But before she could do anything, I wrapped her up with my bandages and she tried to get out, but I went up close to her. What are you doing? She blushed. What am I to you? You were my partner for the past 3 years and you have been one of my closest friends. I deliberately said, W. She blushed more and there was a long silence that entered the room. I didn't even know that I would be closing my eyes and getting closer to her face. What am I doing? I don't know what to think. She closed her eyes as well and began to pull herself closer to me. I felt her presence, her warm, soft presence getting closer every second and every moment. Eraser, I heard her whisper as we kissed. Of course this was our first time and I couldn't help but feel her soft, luscious lips touching mine. Eraser, what are you? I touched her body and her arms, feeling every part. I carried her to the bed and dropped her, breaking our kiss. Eras, I kissed her lips again and I began to touch her clothes as if I was removing it from her, and I removed my scarf. I kissed her neck, making her silently. Eraser, please. Her hands touched my body as if she was feeling the pleasure. Our tongues felt each other and our saliva drooled. I stopped kissing her for a moment and she breathed heavily. Joke R. I was quickly interrupted by her. Thanks, she smiled. What are you smiling for? I briefly asked her. You made my night. She kissed me on the cheek and she blushed. I felt calmness move around the room like air. Joke. All of a sudden Class 1A along with the big 3 barged in the door. Aizawa-sensei, they screamed. What? I questioned them. We need your assistance. Ida exclaimed. Ha, your class is really crazy, Eraserhead. Joke continued to laugh. What were you doing in bed? Midoriya asked me. Oh, it's a Nejire came in and barraged me with a bunch of questions. What really happened, Aizawa-sensei? I really want to know. Her curiosity became an annoyance. I'll tell you. All of the people suddenly stopped. Joke quickly said something out of topic. We slept, she exclaimed, and a lot of students screamed. Is that really it, Aizawa-sensei? Mineta drooled. Mineta. Stop acting like a pervert for once. Ida walked to Mineta and threw him away. Ugh. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What are you staying up late for? I asked Ida. It's because of the rumors of the ghost going around the school, he replied. Then the door opened, creaking. Then all of the girls squealed. It's a ghost. They panicked and ran around the room. Everyone calm down, it's just the wind. I screamed at everyone. Is it really just the wind? Mirio wondered if it really was the wind. The girls continued to scream. Let's get out of here. And Midoriya POV. It's been 3 weeks since I was kidnapped. I haven't heard from Iwamoto since. Kaken shouted at me. You and I have some unfinished business. Kaken walked right past me and then the whole dorm went silent. Unfinished business? I questioned myself as to what is that unfinished business. Aizawa-sensei came in and told us that the dorms would be guarded with more security to prevent the incident that happened to me. Aizawa-sensei continued to discuss everything that's going to happen afterwards. Oh man, we have so many homework to take care of. Mina closed her book and stood up. Everyone, let's party. She turned on the speaker and played some music to dance with. The others joined her and partied like it's the end of the world. We threw books everywhere and we even ate so much food that our stomach couldn't handle it anymore. We danced on top of our desks and made a mess. The music was so loud it made Class 1B wake up. What's going on here? Kendo rubbed her eyes and she saw a total mess in our dorms. You Class 1B come and have a party with us. Kaken screamed for no reason. Maybe it's because he was drunk. No, that can't be. He can't get drunk. That would be underage drinking. Like hell. We would. Tetsu also screamed. Oh ho, we have sweets and some delicious food for our special Class 1B guests. Mina seduced them by showing them all of the delicious food. Alright, we'll join. 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗄 convinced the sleepy Class 1B and they partied like crazy. Man, I guess we won't get off the hook with Aizawa-sensei with this 1 inch, I laughed. Then suddenly the big three came in with bags of pillows. Alright people. It's pillow fight time. All of us started to gather pillows and threw the pillows at each other. I was able to dodge it quickly using my quirk. I don't think they can hit him. I was forcefully hit on my face by a pillow. Who threw that? I looked in around and saw Mirio pointing at Nejire. No. It wasn't me. She threw a pillow at Mirio's face and I just laughed. Hey Nejire. You're not going to get away with that. I ran to her and hit her with a pillow, making her laugh. That ends the night of Class 1A and Class 1B's party. For the next morning I woke up feeling nauseous. Why do I feel so dizzy? Is it because of the candy I ate last night? I went to the bathroom and I suddenly barfed in the toilet, which really smelled bad. Hey Midoriya, could you please hurry? I think I'm gonna puke. All of Class 1A and Class 1B lined up behind the bathroom door. They all had the same feeling as I did. 𝐒𝐻𝐿 walked past me and went to the toilet to vomit. 𝐒𝐿. He banged the door in front of me. There was nothing I could say. Aizawa-sensei came inside our dorms and saw us all lined up behind the bathroom door. What is going on here? He asked me. Well, you see, we partied last night and we kinda ate too much sweets. I nervously replied. Sweets? He said in confusion. Yet I nervously laughed. He turned to his right and saw a whole mess. He used his bandages and tied us up in one place. Alright. You guys are going to clean this place up. The same goes for you too. Class 1B, Aizawa-sensei implied. What, why? 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗄 asked Aizawa-sensei. Do you have any problem? Aizawa-sensei menacingly glared at us. No sir, we all shouted. A few minutes later, man, I can't believe that Aizawa-sensei would this to us, Mina reacted. It. I knew we shouldn't have joined Class 1A, even though they had all that delicious food and sweets. 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗄 regretted his decision. Monoma laughed wickedly. We were all confused. Isn't this weird? Shouldn't it just be Class 1A cleaning this mess up? Why did we even got involved in the first place, right? It's so weird. Kendo karate chopped his neck again, making him pass out. Seriously, what's up with that guy? Kaminari stated. We all continued to clean our dorms and we were tired as heck. It's been 2 hours. Don't we get a break? Sato said to all of us. I guess we could take a break, I replied. Wait, where are the big three? Momo asked me. Oh, I heard that Aizawa-sensei gave them a different task, I replied. I don't know what those tasks were though. Earlier Nejire POV. Where am I? I woke up feeling something grabbing my leg. What? I saw Midoriya grabbing me by the leg. Midoriya? I blushed intensely and removed his hand from my leg. I should get out of here. I started to walk to the door but I slipped. Whoa. I fell face first on someone. Ow. I realized that I fell on Midoriya and I blushed. What? I screamed inside my head. Wait, is my body completely touched Midoriya's body? See, I need to get out of here. I stood up and avoided all of Class 1A sleeping on the ground. Phew. I made it. I turned the knob and I was greeted by Mirio and Tamaki. Yo? Mirio smiled while Tamaki carried a bunch of food with him. Tamaki, what are you carrying? I asked him. Isn't it obvious? He replied. I laughed but he brushed it off. What were you doing grocery shopping? I asked the two of them. Well, it's for Aizawa-sensei, Mirio replied and laughed. It's nothing really. Tamaki faced the wall again. Can I come with you? Can I? I repeatedly asked them until they said yes to me. Thanks Mirio and Tamaki. I shook their hands rapidly. Well, let's get going. We walked down the hallway until we got to Aizawa-sensei's office. We opened the door and we greeted him. Hello Aizawa-sensei. I excitedly said to him, Mirio, did you get the groceries? Aizawa-sensei asked Mirio. Yes. Just as you said. Mirio put all the groceries down on the table. So what happened last night with Class 1A? Aizawa-sensei asked us. I kept thinking until I remembered that we partied. There's no need to worry, Aizawa-sensei. I laughed. Well, last night I covered Mirio's mouth, stopping him from saying what happened. Don't say anything or he will get mad. I whispered to his ear. You do know Aizawa-sensei can hear you, Tamaki implied. What happens? Aizawa-sensei furiously said to us with his same demeanor. After a few minutes we explained everything. What were you doing partying with the students? Aizawa-sensei questioned us. We all backed up but he caught us and gave us a punishment. We need to clean the front yard and the backyard. I replied in shock, yes, that's punishment for not keeping an eye on class 1A and B also for making the dorms messy. 𝐒𝐬𝐽𝐼𝑧𝐻 then gave us rakes. Mirio started already as always, we'll do our best 𝐒𝐬𝐽𝐼𝑧𝐻, he energetically raked the leaves, who will clean the dorms? I curiously asked 𝐒𝐬𝐽𝐼𝑧𝐻, leave it to the class 1A. And B, he went back to the building. Man, this is hard, I said to all of us. Well, this is what we get for joining the party last night. Tamaki faced the wall. Tamaki is right, so now let's continue to rake the leaves. Mirio energetically raked the leaves again. Okay, I replied, feeling lazy. One Midoriya POV. It's now 8 o'clock in the evening and we were finished with cleaning the dorms. It took us this long to clean our dorms. Kirishima reacted. Well, it is our fault, so, I replied. Hey, class 1A and B, Nejire happily greeted us. The big three. Momo, what are you doing here? Mineta asked them. We just finished our task. Mirio replied, we all talked about what happened. With everything going okay, I thought the villains had given up, but I knew they weren't going to give up that easily. Ultimately, after 2 months I was able to train with the big three and we were able to make great progress. Now I am able to make one for all strength stronger. I swear I'll make this power my own. A month has passed and I felt myself getting stronger and stronger. Hey Midoriya, will you join us for our training next week? Mirio walked up to me. Yeah, I'll be coming. I replied. Someone is here to meet you. He revealed someone behind him. It was a person with baggy eyes, messy indigo hair and relatively tall compared to us. Shinso's. I was shocked. Well, I'll leave you two here. Mirio walked outside of the boys' dressing room. What are you doing here? I asked him. I'm here to train with the big three. He replied. What? I was surprised to hear him say this. Yeah, that Mirio guy should have told you earlier, but I guess he didn't. I couldn't say anything because I was in shock. Well, I guess I'll leave the decision to you. All of the big three agreed to train me and that only leaves you. He walked to the door but I stopped him. I accept. I shouted. Are you sure? He questioned me. Yeah. I replied and smiled. Hee. I guess I'll see you next week. She walked out of the boys' dressing room. I can't believe it. Shinso is going to train with me. I guess I should stop talking to myself. Hee. For Shigaraki POV. Well, let's start. I said to all of the League of Villain members. It's time to unleash total destruction. To be continued. Midoriya POV. Halloween is closing in and we are all very excited. Alright class, Halloween is almost here, which means it's a holiday tomorrow, so dress up in your scariest costume and trick or treat. You're also free to stay in your dorms if you want. Aizawa-sensei walked out of classroom. Yeah. Halloween. Uraraka shouted at everyone. Midoriya, what's your costume? Ida asked me. Well, I guess I'm a ghost. I replied hastily. Well, I'm going to be a zombie, or I guess you could say Frankenstein. Ida caught everyone's attention. Awesome, Ida. Kaminari shouted. Well, I'm going to be a devil. He showed a picture of his costume. Todoroki, what about you? Kaminari asked Todoroki. I'll be a vampire. She replied to Kaminari. I think Uraraka will be a witch. Azui implied. Yes, I'll be a witch. Uraraka walked up to me. I have an idea, Deku. She suggested that we would meet up at 7 p.m. tomorrow in our costumes and go trick or treating together. Do you mean just the two of us? I blushed intensely. No. We have Ida, Kaminari, and Bakugo with Kirishima. She replied to me. I sighed in relief. Wait, Kakkens. I screamed. You got a problem with that nerd? Kakken angrily shouted. Well, nothing much. I laughed. Well, then it's settled. We'll meet up tomorrow. Ida implied. One day later I woke up feeling excited and refreshed. I yawned and went to the bathroom, but I suddenly stopped in my tracks because of a letter on my table. It says to Midoriya. I was shocked to see that it was from Shinso. Waits. I opened the letter and saw a note saying, sorry, I won't be able to train with you. Change of plans. I'll have special training with Aizawa-sensei from now on. Well, see ya. It left me in shock and I stood there frozen. Midoriya? Breakfast is ready. My mom shouted behind the door. I held the note tightly. There's no time to be standing right here. Is he Aizawa-sensei's secret love child or something? I questioned this to myself, but I thought that it couldn't be possible because Aizawa-sensei isn't that kind of guy. I walked down the stairs and saw my mom eating her breakfast. I sat down with her. So you guys going out tonight? She asked me. Yes, I spoke silently. What's wrong? My mom grew concerned. Nothing. It's just Shinso isn't going to be training with us anymore, I replied while eating. It's okay, Midoriya. I know how you feel. After your dad left for his job I couldn't help but feel uneasy. I felt as if the world was going to end, but I didn't let this stop me from giving 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. You're my one and only child. I can't afford to lose you. You can overcome this, Izuku. I know you can. Just believe and have faith that you can overcome anything. I learned this the hard way. Izuku, my mom spoke to me. Words? Those words scarred me with tears. Tears I couldn't forget. Tears of sadness. I began crying like a baby. Now stop crying or you'll make the food soggy. A man with a mask appeared and talked to my mom. It wasn't long until, we need your son. The man spoke. What for? She asked him. It's an order from the boss. The man pulled out a gun. I couldn't help but freeze in my place and quiver in fear. Izuku, run. My mom shouted at me. The man shot her. I froze there not knowing what to do. I screamed, then the whole room went pitch black. So, you're All Might's predecessor. How pathetic is that? Really, how much you can use? I think that you don't have a chance against us. 𝐻3, Mom. I woke up from my nightmare. It was just a dream. I looked around for a bit and realized that I was in my dorm, and I glanced at my table and a letter was there, to Midoriya, from Shinso. I opened it hoping that it would have a different note, but still the same. I wrote a letter to him saying, I accept your decision. Do your best. I mailed it to him afterwards. Midoriya, you ready for tonight? Ida asked me and walked up to me. Yeah, I guess. I replied. What's wrong? He asked me again. Nothing, just a bad dreams. I replied silently. Oh well, see ya. I gotta meet with the others. He ran back to Tokoyami and the others. I walked to my room and laid down on my bed. That's right. I need a costume. I looked down on the internet and found one that was too expensive. How can I afford this? I thought of an idea that I would have to make a costume for myself. With this cloth and my scissors I can easily make a ghost costume. I cut through the cloth and made holes to represent where my eyes were supposed to be, but it was too standard or too typical for a ghost costume, so I'll have to put extra effort in making it and create my own version. It wasn't long after I had made my own version of a ghost costume. Midoriya. I hear someone knocking behind the door. Who is it? I asked him or her. It's Uraraka, she replied. I'll be right there. I fixed my things and dashed through the door. Yes. I opened the door. I wanted to ask you about my costume, she implied. What's wrong with it? I asked her, would you like this or this? She showed two pictures of her wearing two different costumes. One was a witch and the other one was a vampire nurse. I thought you made up your mind with the witch costume. She was desperate, I knew from her eyes, so I picked one for her. I think this one inch. She accepted what I chose and went to her room surprisingly fast. Well, I guess I'll just be training for a while. I did nothing but train the whole day until the time has come for Halloween. We got ready, we put on our costumes and walked out of our rooms. Whoa, Midoriya. Did you make yours? Uraraka eagerly asked me. Thanks, yours is not bad either, Uraraka. I happily said to her, where's Kirishima? Kaminari asked Kaken. He'll be with us after we get there, he replied hastily. Well, let's go. Ida led us to a street where it was full of other people and kids who were trick-or-treating. Where's that demon Kirishima? Kaken clenched a fist. It's okay, it's not like he's going to leave you or anything, Kaminari eagerly said to Kaken. A mail for Bakugo. A mailman brought a mail from Kirishima saying, sorry I can't be with you, Bakugo. I went somewhere with my family. It's very special, hope you can understand. Well, see ya, that 𝐵𝐵𝐴 is going to pay. Kaken crushed the note in his hand. Now I'm pretty sure he had a good explanation. Kaminari tried to calm him down. Shut up, or I'll blow you to pieces. Kaken shouted again. Let's go, Todoroki implied. We went trick-or-treating for a half an hour and we got a lot of candy, well except Kaken in this. He showed us an angry expression on his face. Well, if you hadn't been screaming at the people you could have gotten lots of candy. Kaminari spoke to Kaken. What did you say? Kaken then started chasing Kaminari with his quirk. Hey, let's move on to the next house. Ida pointed at the scary haunted house across the street. That's scary. Uraraka held my hand. WB. I blushed. She's holding my hand. I said inside my head, let's just get this over with. Kaken walked to the house and rang the doorbell. Who there? Someone from the inside of the house asked us. It's Bakugo. He shouted his name, then the door slowly opened itself. A light could be seen inside. It was very bright. Wait, why did he? I asked myself. Hello. Mineta was the owner of the house. Mineta. He gave us a thumbs up and smiled. Yeah, he lives near here, Todoroki said to all of us. Seriously? I asked him again and he showed me some pictures from social media to prove it. Whoa, it really is true. We headed towards the house and Mineta gave us candy. Thanks, Mineta. I thanked him and then moved on to the next house. 2 hours had passed and we collected many candy. By this time we decided to end it here, but Kaminari brought up the legend of the haunted table area in the cafeteria in UA. He told us that someone died there trying to eat as many food as he can get. Unfortunately, he choked and died because no one was there with him. He was all alone. It was said that his very soul haunts that table area and he could be seen every midnight. It's too scary. 𝐎𝐻𝑝𝗆 shrieked, "Why don't we investigate this supposedly haunted area, shall we?" 𝐒𝐸 suggested to all of us, if it is real then we would have experienced something extraordinary. He added, "You mean we should hunt for this ghost by midnight?" Todoroki asked 𝐒𝐸. Yes. 𝐒𝐸 replied, feeling great. Do we have the right equipment for this? I briefly asked 𝐒𝐸. We do. 𝐒𝐸 replied, showing us the equipment. Where did you get these? Todoroki questioned him. I bought it online. He answered, let's get ready. We then walked to our school and snuck inside the cafeteria using 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A's quirk by sneaking on the roof. We did it. I whispered. We headed towards the very end of the cafeteria and heard a whisper. Who are you? We panicked and screamed silently. Let's get it, 𝐒𝐸 whispered to us. Right, 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A replied. For we ran to the end of the cafeteria and saw a white figure. We shone a flashlight to it but it disappeared. The figure grabbed a hold of 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A, causing her to scream, 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A. I shone a flashlight to her but she was gone. Damn it, where could that thing be? Kaminari briefly questioned himself. We used our ghost hunting equipment to track it. Luckily we found where it was. 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A, she was possessed by it. What do you want? I asked the ghost. I want to finish my food challenge and beat my old high score. It replied to us, what? I replied back, with this new body I can accomplish my goal. The ghost with 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A's body raced towards me and landed a punch. The ghost was too fast. He punched all of us one after another except Kaminari. You won't get away with this. Kaminari used his ghost hunting box and opened it. Ah! He screamed, prepare to be defeated. The box in the ghost inside of 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A and trapped it inside. You did it. Kaminari fell down. What? There was another ghost behind Kaminari. You kids are tough. The ghost called the others and they all appeared at the same time. They released the trapped ghost out of the box. Let's have some fun. We had no choice but to use the equipment that 𝐒𝐸 gave us. 𝐒𝐸. No. Todoroki shouted. 𝐒𝐸 used his reciprocal burst and caught all of the ghost with a binding chain in an instant. What is this? You're now going to get hunted. We used our ghost hunting equipment and caught all of them. We did it. We all shouted in joy. I am possible. The ghosts were now hunted. Izuku. My mom came barging inside with a bunch of officers into the cafeteria. Are you okay? I heard fighting. She asked me. I'm fine. My mom began crying. The others went inside and greeted all of us with joy. They also asked questions about what happened. Are you okay? Jiro asked 𝐎𝑗𝑢𝑟𝑖𝑘A. Why? She replied. We finally caught a ghost. 𝐒𝐸 exclaimed. No, it wasn't a ghost. Aizawa-sensei came in dressed as a mummy. 2. What you caught was a student who was causing trouble inside the school for 6 months now. He's been scaring other students, the staff, the janitors, just to name a few. We're glad you caught him. He uses a quirk called ghostify. It's a quirk wherein they can have the attributes of a ghost but he can't hold that form for more than 30 minutes. He can create other ghostly figures but has limit up to 3. The rumors were lies. There was no ghost in the first place. Aizawa-sensei explained briefly to all of us. So, I never caught a ghost. 𝐒𝐸 turned white as if he never had color at all. It's okay. 𝐒𝐸 tried to make him feel better. Well, now that you're all fine, I guess you can still celebrate Halloween, but for those who were attacked and came inside the cafeteria, it's best that you spend your holiday with your family. Aizawa-sensei left the cafeteria with the officers. I went home with my mother and I think that's what the others did. Still, I can't believe that I had a dream like that last night. I just hope it never happens again. Midoriya POV. Hello Midoriya. A voice called out to me. Who's there? I asked the voice. I'm the one who shot your mother in your last dream. I got angered by what he said. I tried to move my body but it didn't work. Now there's no need to be mad. I'm a good guy. The voice then became a black figure with a somewhat similar look to that of All For One. You're not a good guy. I was free of my restraint and was now able to move. I used my quirk and kicked him but he dodged it. You have great power, my friend. He created several swords around me, but I'm much stronger. He aimed the swords toward me in lightning fast speed. Know your place? I dodged it, but one of the swords cut my arm. My arm. I yelled in pain. I guess this is all the time I have left. Pretty sure by the time we meet you're going to die, huh? My sight went pitch black as he laughed ominously. I screamed as I woke up from another nightmare. Was it another nightmare? I looked around my room, nothing was out of the ordinary, but I saw BLD coming out of my arm. What? I looked over to it and saw the cut that was from the sword in my dream. I went to my bathroom and washed it. How? I asked myself, clueless. I finished washing it and looked at the clock. It's 4:46 in the morning. I decided that I won't go to sleep or else that guy might come back. I have to stay awake. I drank coffee in order to stay awake and did a lot of things like work, slap and pinch myself, and a few other stuff. I was able to stay awake until class was about to start. I got up from my bed and took a shower. I packed my things and went to my classroom. 3 at this time. I was sleepy. I didn't know if the others saw me, but I didn't bother. Oh, I almost forgot. Class, you have a temporary transfer student today. Let's meet him, shall we? Aizawa-sensei said to all of us. Wait, another transfer student? I asked myself, looking at the door. Come in. Izawa-sensei called out to our new classmate. You'll be having lessons with her for 3 weeks, so be sure to be nice around her. She came inside our classroom. Her hair is somewhat similar to Nejire's but has a darker tone to it, and it's shorter, at least shoulder high. Her face has a smile that gives you warm feeling. Her body is the same as the girls in our classroom, and she is at least the same height as Nejire. Everyone, meet your new classmate. Miwako kid. We all were in shock to meet her. Hello everyone. She greeted us. My name Miwako kid and I'll be your new classmate for 3 weeks. She made us all feel better. I don't know how, but it seems she is like sun that shines in the darkness. You'll be sitting with that boy over there. Aizawa-sensei pointed at me. She went over to me relatively quick. Hello, I'll be your new seatmate. She is as energetic as Nejire. Hello everyone. She greeted us again. Heights. We all had the same replying. Midoriya, how could you? I felt Mineta's presence behind me. I hope this can't get any worse. The day was usual and nothing much happened in the time being. Well class, that's it. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Aizawa-sensei left the classroom. So what are you going to do today? Miwako asked me. Oh, I don't really know, I replied as I chuckled. She said in confusion. Well, good night. See ya. We all went to our dorms slowly. Man, I'm tired. I went to the bathroom and took a bath and brushed my teeth. Then I lied down on my bed. I felt hair under my legs. Wait, I removed the blanket next to me and I saw Nejire sleeping. I blushed. Why is she here all of a sudden? I asked myself, clueless. I opened the lights and saw what appeared to be her clothes. It wasn't the type she wears all day. In fact, the clothes she wore was her hero costume. I need to get her out of here. Hope no one is awake. I devised a quick plan to get her out of my room fast. Midoriya? I stopped for a brief moment and then turned to look at her. Hi Nejire. I replied to her. How was your day? She asked me, desperate for the answer. It was. I stopped as she walked to me and leaned over. I heard you have another classmate and that classmate is 𝐻𝐻𝗔. She curiously implied. Say, isn't she your new seatmate? She asked me again, this time looking directly at my eyes. How? Did you know about that? I asked her as I chuckled. Your friends told me. She had a serious look on her face. Did you replace me with another girl? I was shocked to hear this. Wait, are we already together? I asked her, isn't it obvious? Now tell me, is she your new girlfriend? I froze and did not know what to say to her. She's just my new seatmate, that's all. I tried to sound serious, but it only made it worse. You're replacing me, aren't you? She was saddened. What? No. I stopped as I saw her in tears. That's okay, I guess you prefer girls with shorter hair, huh? She wiped her eyes from the tears. She cried. Nejire, I could never replace you. I recovered my composure. Look, we're just friends, nothing more. Nothing else, I explained to her. You sure? She asked me to make sure. Yeah, we just met and I'm not really into girls with shorter hair than yours. She laughed a bit. What's so funny? I questioned her. You. She smiled at me. Hee. Am I really that funny? I said as I laughed also. She then hugged me tight. Don't ever leave my side. I hugged her back, of course. She began playing with my stuff. Are these really your stuff? She continued to play with my action figures. Yeah, be careful though, that cost me quite a lot of money. I simply said to her, I'm feeling tired. She stretched her arms as wide as the ocean stretching against the horizon. Well, I guess you should go back to your own room and sleep, I said as I put my things in where they were. 5. Aw, but I wanted to sleep with you. Please let me sleep by your side. Nejire eagerly convinced me. But I don't want people to think we are, I said to her as I nervously chuckled. Please? Nejire gave me the puppy dog eyes. She really wanted to sleep with me. Fine, I replied. You and I are gonna have so much fun. She pushed onto the bed and dropped on me. Are we really gonna do this? She began to lick her lips. I covered my eyes tightly. Let's have fun. I didn't know what she was gonna do, so I braced myself. I opened my eyes and she hit me with a pillow fight. She continued to hit me again and again. You won't get away with this? I grabbed a pillow and then hit her back. Stop it. She laughed and smiled. After 2 minutes we were tired. Man, that was the best pillow fight ever. 𝐕 laid on my bed. I guess it's sleeping time. I quickly dropped on my bed. 𝐕 was fast asleep and I could hear her breathe like a baby girl. Good night, 𝐕. I slept through the whole night. 9 The next day, Midoriya. 𝐕 waved her hand in front of me, making me wake up. Yes. I rubbed my eye. It's daytime. She smiled. Oh, I looked at the clock and saw that it was 7 a.m. Wait a second, I'm late. I rushed through the bathroom and brushed my teeth. Midoriya. She laughed. Sorry, 𝐕, I need to take a bath. Bye. I closed the door and took a bath as fast as I can. Midoriya. I have to tell you something. She knocked on the door. I was now finished taking a bath and ran to my closet. Midoriya. 𝐕 screamed as she saw my body. Sorry. I got all my clothes and ran back to the bathroom. I got changed and was ready for school. Midoriya. She shouted, what is it? I questioned her. Do you want to go out with me? She replied as I froze after hearing it. Are you? She nodded and I nodded back. WN? I asked what date we were gonna have our date. Tomorrow, she replied as she smiled at me. 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝗆. I slowly went to the door, freezing every step. By I closed the door behind me. I'm going out with a girl. Mirio POV, sir. I ran to Sir Nitai's office. What is it? He asked me, are we ready? I replied back to him, we are. He said to me. I left the office and saw Midoriya walking on the hallway. Midoriya. I called to him. Mirio. He stopped in his tracks. Our training's tomorrow. See you. I ran to my classroom while waving goodbye. Okay. He then continued to walk to his classroom. 𝐕, man, what a day. I briefly said to Tamaki, I don't really get you. Mirio walked up to us and asked us about yesterday. So what do you think of Midoriya? Mirio asked both of us. He's okay, Tamaki said as he chuckled. How about you, 𝐕? He turned to me. Oh, he's I thought of something. Hello. Mirio called out to me. Yes? I quickly replied, you've been thinking for 2 minutes. Mirio then smiled at me while Tamaki was still silent. Oh, sorry. I got lost in a daze. He's cool and has a great body. I didn't realize that what I said was embarrassing. His body. Mirio turned to Tamaki. I was red as a tomato. Somebody's got a crush? Mirio teased me. It's not like that. I grew silent every word. Well, we're going to be late. I guess we should head for the classroom. Mirio headed towards our classroom as Tamaki followed him. Phew. I sighed and followed them. As I went to the classroom, I heard rumors that Midoriya was dating his new classmate. Hey, did you hear Midoriya's got a new girlfriend? What? Really? I heard them whispering loudly. Shush, 𝐕 is here. Hello, 𝐕. They greeted me, but I didn't greet them back. Instead, I went to class 1A. I walked quickly to Midoriya's classroom, and as I opened the door, I saw his new classmate sitting on top of his body. By the way, they were the only 2 people who were in the classroom. And 𝐕? Midoriya screamed in shock. Who is this, 𝐕? Midoriya's new classmate asked him. It's not what you think. He tried to get up, but his new classmate stopped him. 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐢𝐻𝑐𝐶. I cried. To think you were. I ran away crying. 𝐕? Midoriya chased me. Go away. I used my quirk and it hit him, causing him to scream in pain. I saw him tumble to a nearby wall. I stopped for a brief moment but proceeded to run. I ran past Uraraka and Tsuyu. What's wrong? They looked at me in confusion. Just get away from me. I didn't know where to go. I cried and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. I went to the janitor's room and hid inside. How could he? Flashback, don't ever leave my side. Of course, and flashback, I bowed my head and sobbed. After a few minutes, I was woken up by someone trying to call my name. 𝐕? 𝐕, so many have been calling out for me. It must have been so long since I cried I lost track of time and slept. 𝐕. Where are you? I could hear Mirio call out for me. Midoriya. You search that room while we go here, understood? Midoriya tried to open the door but I locked it. 𝐕. Are you there? He called out to me. It is me, I quietly said as I opened the door. 𝐕, thank goodness you're safe. He tried hugging me but I stopped him. Tell me, was all you said just a lie? Like how you would never leave my side? I angrily said to him. He couldn't say a thing. Tell me. I shouted at him. 𝐕, we weren't making out when you saw us, we were only doing it for fun. I got even more angered as to what he said. What do you mean? You two were having fun. What about me, Midoriya? What do you think of me? Am I just a puppet who did all your bidding? Is that what I am? I screamed at Midoriya, this time louder. No, you're not that. Midoriya shouted back, then tell me. What is it that you were doing? I was desperate for the answer, but he didn't talk for 2 seconds. I told you we were only having fun. I got angrier and used my quirk to blast him away from me. He yelled in pain. Nejire, he slowly crawled to me. 3. I thought you were the one, but I was wrong. You played with me, you hurt me, and worst of all, you cheated on me. I don't know you anymore. This isn't working. I think we should just break up. Goodbye, Midoriya. I used my quirk and flew away crying. After 4 hours, Midoriya, POV Midoriya, you there? Kirishima woke me up. Where am I? I asked him. You are at the infirmary. You had quite an injury, Recovery Girl said to me. Thanks. Wait, where's Nejire? I impatiently asked Recovery Girl. She disappeared. We don't have any trace of her, Recovery Girl quickly replied. What happened to you two anyways? Kirishima questioned me, but he was suddenly asked to go out by Recovery Girl. What exactly happened between the two of you? She wanted the answer straight away, but I hesitated because from that moment she said something to me, something that I couldn't forget. Midoriya, Recovery Girl said once again. Okay, but I might regret this. Flashback come. Miwako called me as she dragged me to our empty classroom. What is it? I asked her as to why is she doing this. Oh, nothing. She began to play with her hair as if she is doing something. Why is it empty here? Miwako asked me, desperate for the answer. We were split into pairs. The others went to other classrooms for inspection. The teachers said that this'll be useful for the future. I don't know what classrooms they were in though. Anyway, let's get back to our classroom before anyone notices we are missing. Just as I was to open the door, Miwako began melting like wax. What? Wait, are you? My instincts were right. It was Himiko Togu. I became mad that fact that a villain was inside our school. Hello, Izuku. She playfully said my name, but as the wax melted down she was naked. Ah. I covered my eyes. You afraid? She said in confusion. Change into your clothes? I shouted and pointed at the extra clothes in the lost and found. Ah, what a gentleman, Toga seductively said as she drank a vial of BLD. Feels good to be back. She went to the lost and found box and changed her clothes. While she was doing this, I activated my quirk and got ready. Still my eyes were closed. I like this uniform so much. Toga finished changing her clothes and jumped straight for me. I couldn't see anything, so we fell down the floor. I like you. Toga smiled as she pulled out a knife. You'll have a fun time. She the blade and pointed it at me. Don't ever say this to anyone or else. Toga showed me a picture of Nejire and stabbed it. You wouldn't? I angrily said to her. It seems you really care for this girl. We both heard footsteps coming from outside. Remember, as the door opened, Nejire was staring at us. For end flashback, did she get away? Recovery Girl questioned me. Yes, she did. While Nejire ran out the door, she let go of me and told me to remember what would happen if I told this to anyone. After that, she jumped out the window. I replied, looking at the ground. Is that all that happened? Recovery Girl asked me once again. I told her no, and after that Nejire and I fought about what had happened earlier. Why didn't you tell her the truth? Recovery Girl demanded an answer. Because, I hesitated again. Did you really think that she would do it? Are you sure that she would kill an innocent girl? Recovery Girl wisely said to me. I don't know, I replied, ashamed of myself. Look, just tell her the truth. I'm sure she would understand. She impatiently suggested. But what if she does kill her? I don't know what I'd do if she dies. I couldn't say anything more. I thought of the image of Nejire dying. I don't want that to happen. I clenched a fist. If you don't want that to happen, find her right now. I'm sure she'll be fine after she hears the truth, especially if it's from you. Midoriya, you have to protect her or else. I don't have anything to say anymore, but just smile in front of Recovery Girl. What are you smiling about? Now get off and go to your classroom. She asked me to leave the infirmary. I looked back at her and thanked her for everything. It was now nighttime and I walked down the hallway when suddenly a small television came into view. It was somehow turned on. For some reason I walked a bit faster to look at the news report. Breaking news: student found wounded in construction site. Police are now investigating the scene. As soon as I heard this, I laid down on my knees and teared up. No. Nejire. I yelled so loud it echoed through the hallway. I told you this is what would happen, Toga said behind the window. I turned around, furious at her. How could you? I used one for all and ran straight to her, then jumped out the window. I grabbed her neck and clenched a fist. You monster. As we fell down the building, I punched her with 5% Detroit smash, making her fall to the ground first. I used her body as a pin cushion and fell straight down. Hee, you're awesome, Izuku. She coughed out BLD and melted again, but this time it was a more liquid substance. Nonetheless, I'm not the real one. I'll see you, Midoriya Izuku. She melted through my hands and then disappeared. I'll never forgive you, Himiko Toga. Midoriya POV, what's all the commotion? Aizawa-sensei and the rest of the teachers came out of the dorms looking at me. Midoriya. Suddenly everyone showed up running towards me. Are you okay? Uraraka touched me to look for injuries. I'm fine, Uraraka. She looked down to the puddle of liquid and walked upon it. What's this? Uraraka started to touch the gooey liquid and smell it. A villain was inside the school, I casually said to her. What? What are you saying? All of them looked at each other. What do you mean a villain was inside? Uraraka approached me. Himiko Toga, I said with a serious look on my face. Huh? Everyone froze for a moment. Himiko Toga? Yaoyorozu held her own hand tightly. You mean Himiko Toga was inside the school? Aizawa-sensei was concerned about us and the school. An exchange student named Miwako Kid was Himiko Toga, I explained to Aizawa-sensei. He was shocked to hear that an exchange student was a villain all this time. No way! Present Mike exclaimed while being dramatic. Her quirk uses transformation, so that must be it. Todoroki held his chin thinking. Some of us were confused and some were frightened. Midoriya, why aren't you at your dorm? I simply couldn't answer, or I really just don't want to answer. I'm sorry. I held my chest tightly and cried, huh? Aizawa-sensei looked directly at me. Nejire was attacked by a villain and almost died. The frightened faces turned to even more frightened faces. She was attacked? Azui let out a small tear on the left side of her cheek. I wept and sobbed as I held my chest very tight. I don't believe it. Ida was shocked and frozen at this point. While everyone didn't believe me, there's no way Nejire would get attacked, right? Kaminari also cried, but he held it. I couldn't speak. Instead I looked to the ground and continued to sob. Everyone please look at this. Yaoyorozu showed us her phone, which stated girl wounded in construction site. Police are now investigating the scene. I didn't look at the phone whilst Yaoyorozu was scrolling down for more information. Nejire was taken to the hospital. Yaoyorozu shouted in surprise. She's safe? Kirishima exclaimed while trying to high-five Kaken. This is no time to be celebrating. Where is she, Yaoyorozu? What's her room? Aizawa-sensei questioned Yaoyorozu seriously. It doesn't say. Yaoyorozu tried to scroll down for more info, but it seems she didn't find any. We don't have any information about which hospital she's in, so I guess we would split in groups and go to every hospital right now, Aizawa-sensei suggested. That would take long, Sensei. Mina complained at Aizawa-sensei. If you have a problem with it, then just go home. We don't need whining kids here. In order to know Nejire is safe, we have to search inside every hospital to ensure that she's safe. I stopped crying and calmed myself down. After a while of Aizawa-sensei grouping us up, he finally made the decision to group us into pairs. Okay, you'll be in pairs, so be sure to cooperate with your partners. For Group 1 we have Todoroki and Yaoyorozu. Group 2 we have Hagakure and Sero. Group 3 Kirishima and Bakugo. Group 4 is going to be Midoriya and Ida. Group 5 Uraraka and Ojiro. Group 6 is Shoji and Koda. Group 7 Tokoyami and Aoyama. Group 8 Mina and Tsuyu. And lastly Group 9 is Kaminari and Jiro. Got it? Aizawa-sensei ordered us to split up and find Nejire. For minutes later, Kirishima POV, it's been 4 minutes, and we still haven't found Nejire, but we didn't give up and continued to search for her. Man, where is she? Bakugo and I looked for Nejire, but there's still no sign of her. Where's that demon blue witch? Bakugo made a bush explode near him. Calm down, I'm sure we'll find her soon. We ran to the nearest hospital. Tisk, Bakugo said in silence. Jiro POV, found her yet? I asked Kaminari, who just came back from inside the hospital. No, she's not there, Kaminari said sadly to me. Hey, don't worry, we'll be able to find her. I slowly patted Kaminari's back. You're right, we ran again to another hospital. Todoroki POV, any positive results? I asked Yaoyorozu, who was in front of me. No, she's not in here either, she replied. Then her phone suddenly rang. Hello. She asked it. It's me, Ida. I heard Ida's voice from the phone. Oh hey, what's up? Did you find her yet? Yaoyorozu was frantic with worry. Sorry, we haven't found her. Ida replied through the phone. Okay, let me know if you do find her. Yaoyorozu quickly hung up the phone. That's weird, there aren't that many hospitals here but we can't seem to find her anywhere. I held my chin once again. Yeah, that is weird. 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐧 also held her chin thinking, if Nejire was taken to a hospital she would have been found right now. Right. So why is she still missing? There are at least 13 hospitals here and there are 9 groups searching for her. We already searched inside 8 hospitals and there are only 5 left. The most likely one she'll be in is… I quickly stopped her from speaking further. Where was the construction site nearest to? I casually asked 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐧. She gasped to a fast realization, she's in 𝗔𝗨�00 Hospital. Midoriya POV, she's nowhere near here. Ida came back to me, who just asked the lady inside the hospital. She's still not. Ida smiled at me and patted my head. Don't worry about it, we'll find her. I nodded and stood up from my bench. Ida's phone rang as he picked it up. Hello. What, really? Ida jumped in surprise. What is it? I asked him why he jumped. Good news, Midoriya, she's in 𝗔𝗨�00 Hospital. I smiled and cried tears of joy, but suddenly the whole world went dark. I couldn't see anything. Ida, where are you? I walked up in front of me and felt water down my feet. What is this? I used my phone's flashlight and shone it in front of the liquid. The liquid was red and thick. Ida. I shone it to Ida and saw his body hanging while a Nomu held his head like a toy. Midoriya, run. I froze in my place, fearing for my life. Run. Ida shouted, but the Nomu stopped him. Ida. I yelled out his name, which made the Nomu look to me. Run, Midoriya, run now. Ida silently spoke to me. I used my quirk and kicked the Nomu right in the face. You're dead. The Nomu was surprisingly weak against my kick and it made him fly to the nearest wall. Ida, are you okay? I picked his injured body up. Midoriya, why didn't you run? Ida went unconscious after saying this. I can't leave you here. I used one for all and ran inside the hospital and shouted for help. Help somebody. I screamed and screamed but nobody responded. Screaming so much I was tired and decided to go out, but a figure passed behind me. I looked back but saw nothing. The figure passed again but still there's nothing. Alright, who's there? I was thinking that someone was pranking me. Midoriya. I heard a faint voice call me from behind. Who's there? I asked the voice but it didn't reply any further. I walked slowly outside, then the power went back. Ida, where? I stopped and saw Ida's body disintegrating. Ida. Are you? Ida's body disappeared slowly. Ida. Please no. I watched as he disappeared into thin air. No, Ida. I cried until another figure passes behind me. I looked back and saw Ida calling me Midoriya. I heard Ida's static voice calling out for me. His figure was faint and was nearly visible. I ran to him, but each step I took he went away from me. Ida. I ran and used one for all to get faster, but it still didn't work. Ida. I was on my knees and breathing heavily. I heard whispers around me and saw the world getting darker and darker until it was all pitch black. The whispers got louder and louder and were inaudible. I covered my ears, but it seems like the whispers were inside my head. The inaudible whispers became voices that I can understand now. Midoriya. I snapped and looked at Ida, who was desperately waking me up. Are you okay? Ida and the others were huddled up around me. Where? I rubbed my head slightly. You were asleep and no one was able to wake you up. Good thing Ida was able to do it. He also said that you fell asleep after he told you the good news. 𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐴 implied near me, then sighed. What happened? You were in a deep sleep. Mineta was thinking of drawing with markers on your face, Todoroki asked me. I wasn't able to comprehend what happened in my dream. Everyone was looking at me attentively. It took me at least 5 seconds to remember everything that happened. I gasped after I remembered. I had a dream where Ida died. They were all left in shock after hearing me say this. I died. Ida wondered. Yeah, you did? It first happened when all the electricity went out, then you were attacked by a Nomu. I went inside the hospital to call for help but no one responded. After that you disintegrated into thin air. I briefly explained my dream to Ida and the others. Whoa, that's dark, 𝐬𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐴 commented. That's a strange dream, Todoroki thought to himself. Yeah, especially the one where Ida disintegrates, that's scary. Mineta bit his nails over and over. Is it someone's quirk? 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐴 asked us. If it is, that would explain it, but we don't know anyone with that kind of quirks, 𝐤𝑗iro replied to 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐴. My phone vibrated. I picked it up and saw a message from an unknown number. Guys, you should see this. I shouted to everyone. What is it, Midoriya? Ida said as he and the others walked to me. This guy knows where Nejire is. All of us gasped. What do you mean? We know where she is. She's in 𝗔𝗨�00 Hospital. 𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐼𝐴 impatiently said to me. Wait, there's something else here. It's a voicemail. If you think she's in Juntendo Hospital, you're wrong. I am the only person who knows where she really is, and I won't tell you unless someone comes here and begs me to let her go. I really hope it will be Midoriya. He's got a good heart and really admires Nejire. Well, I hope you can cooperate, and I'll be waiting for you to come. Izuku Midoriya. The creepy voicemail made our spines tingle a bit. What the hell is thinking? Tokoyami questioned himself. All of us argued, but some were calm. I think we should listen to the man's. Todoroki suggested. No. The man is just bluffing. I'm sure he's just a prankster. Mineta denied Todoroki's suggestion. We don't know for sure unless we try. Kaminari was on Todoroki's side and accepting the suggestion. I know. How about I go there and blow his stupid face off? Kaken stupidly implied. They continued to argue regarding the subject. I'll go, I said as a moment of silence filled the air. Todoroki asked me if he wants me, then come get me. I stared at them seriously and smiled. That's crazy. Yaoyorozu couldn't accept the fact that I will go to the location and meet up with the strange man. This might be the only way to know where Nejire actually is and what he wants to do with me, I said as I continued to stare at them. Well, if you're gonna go there, you definitely need a plan. Mirio walked out of the shadows and headed toward us. Mirio? All of us screamed with surprised looks on our faces. Tamaki followed Mirio from behind. I think we should have a plan before we go there. Mirio raised his hand up and smiled. Wait, I looked so shocked in front of Mirio. Yeah, he smiled again. You ain't gonna go there alone, we'll be with you. Kirishima and the others smiled at me sincerely. I teared up a bit and thanked them. All right. I walked down the road and saw the construction site that was abandoned for about 7 or 9 months. There it is, I whispered to myself and headed to the site. The construction site looked sketchy and eerily creepy. A lot of things were also left there, like the tools and planks. There are also other stuff, but I didn't focus on those. It reeks. I waved my hand in front of my mouth to get rid of the bad odor. Where is that guy anyway? My voice echoed through a room that was almost demolished. There are a lot of things here, I muttered as I turned to an empty room. Inside was a chair and a box. What's this? I picked up the box and I opened the lid. Whoa, food was inside the box. It was still hot and warm. The food was recently left here. Where is that guy? I walked through the huge construction site, but he was nowhere to be found. I decided to go back to the others, but I heard footsteps next to me. Hello, Izuku Midoriya. The man appeared right before my eyes. Where's Nejire? I immediately asked him. Oh, she's held captive on our base. Oops, why did I say that? He laughed. You monster. I used my quirk and ran straight for him, but he was fast. I couldn't see where he was going. Too slow, kid. The man kicked me at my back and kicked me again on my face before I was able to react. This is his quirk. I tried to follow his movements, but they were like All Might's. However, his punches weren't as strong. The real one. What's the matter? You tired already? He went down from the air and charged his head at me. He then grabbed my arm and pulled me, landing another headbutt. You're not as strong as I thought you'd be. I kicked his face and made a scratch. Why are you doing this to Nejire? Why hold her hostage? The man smiled ominously. It's all part of my elaborate plan. The man laughed loudly. What? I wondered. He removed his cloak and I saw a figure similar to All for One. Who are you? I asked the man. Can't you see? I'm the one inside your dreams, Midoriya. I'm the one who killed your mother in that dream. I got mad and punched him. However, he was still able to dodge. He grabbed my arm and kicked me right in the gut. BW. I spat out so much BLDA. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Yoshino Horiuchi. I possess a quirk that no other human beings can ever wield. Only I can. Yoshino smiled again. My quirk is Dream. Yoshino waved his arms around and made the whole world upside down. I was able to hold on like I had magnetic feet. Right now you are in my dream. Yoshino stretched his arms widely. What do you mean? I asked Yoshino. Allow me to explain my quirk. As you already heard, it's dream, right? Well, this kind of quirk uses its user's imagination to do lots of different things, like make a giant boulder or fly. However, this can only be used in a dream, meaning I can't use it freely in the real world. I can also go to someone else's dreams and mess with theirs. Yoshino briefly said to me, wait, so am I asleep? I asked Yoshino and myself. Yes, you are. You were asleep the whole time you were fighting me. It all started when you opened the box with food, but it wasn't food that was inside, it was a drag. It makes you fall asleep or makes you unconscious when you smell it. Yoshino eerily smiled and looked directly at me. Your friends are trying to wake you up right now, but it's impossible? Yoshino laughed at me. I could only look at him. Then you were just toying with me this whole time? I was standing completely still and breathing fast. Yes, I have been toying with you, Yoshino ominously said as he created a bomb through his hands. What? He threw the bomb straight at me, causing it to explode into small particles of glass shard. I have to defend myself from these. The shards cut my arms and legs. Haha. Yoshino laughed loudly as he created more bombs. Damn it. I used my quirk and tried to kick him. Yoshino used his quirk and made a shield in front of him. You can't hit me, he shouted while the bombs were launching toward me. The bombs exploded and released more glass shards. 𝐻𝐭. The glass shards cut my arms and legs continuously. You see. You're no match for me. Yoshino made a giant gaping hole in the ground below me which made me fall endlessly. Goodbye Izuku Midoriya. Yoshino walked away while still laughing. I can't lose now, I muttered as a huge trampoline appeared under me. Let's go. The trampoline launched me so high it was enough to get to me to the surface. I screamed as I landed a punch on his face. Smashed. Yoshino fell right on the ground after my punch hit him. He stood up feeling in a daze. How is this possible? He questioned me. I was so stupid to not notice this. Since this is my dream, I can do anything I want with it, which means you can't defeat me either. He was left in shock and got mad. No, impossible. Yoshino screamed so loud it made my ears almost bleed. I simply smiled at him. You won't defeat me. I smiled and used one for all. Come get me. Midoriya POV. The world was red. It was all you could see in this bloody battle. We both screamed as we landed a punch on each other's faces. You're not gonna beat me that easy. We both landed another punch on each other. We breathed heavily. Our BLD covered our faces. Pain overwhelmed both of us, and we were very tired. Yoshino fell to the ground breathing heavily while I stood up slowly. How? He looked at me, his face very much covered in his BLD. I won't be beaten. I clenched a fist, then suddenly something sharp stabbed me from behind. The spear impaled my chest from the outside, causing my BLD to splatter everywhere. I vomited so much BLD onto the floor and tried to remove the spear from my chest. Ha! It's over, Izuku, you can't defeat me. Yoshino smiled and laughed sinister like, you monster. BLD came out of my mouth as I spoke. It's over. Yoshino created a bomb next to me then left me. No, I couldn't do it. I closed my eyes as the bomb ticked to 0 earlier. Ida POV Midoriya. I screamed his name over and over to wake him up, but he never did. Who the hell did this? Jiro used her earphone jack to help wake Midoriya up, but she also was having a hard time. Deku, Uraraka cried and looked away. Let me do it. Kaminari electrocuted Midoriya's body with only a little volt of electricity, however it didn't work. What the heck? Kaminari let go off Midoriya's body and stopped. This isn't working. I shouted, feeling like it was my fault for not watching over him. I felt guilt all over me. I was afraid. Yaoyorozu was scared for Midoriya's life, as were the others. We were worried about him. We'll be able to wake him up. Yaoyorozu shouted and cried. Yaoyorozu? I looked straight at her. We'll be able to do it. She shook Midoriya back and forth. Midoriya, she screamed at the top of her lungs. That's enough, Yaoyorozu. Aizawa-sensei came in and walked closer to us. It looks like things didn't go as planned. Aizawa-sensei crossed his arms and went to Midoriya. What is this quirk? I heard him whisper quietly. We stood there for a few minutes thinking of ways to wake Midoriya up. Most of our plans did not seem to work. I'd like to know why you changed plans and why are you here all of a sudden? I thought all of you were finding Nejire in the hospitals. Aizawa-sensei asked me eagerly. Well, there was this guy who kinda knows where Nejire currently is and he sent us a voicemail. He said if we send Midoriya here, we'll be able to get Nejire back, but something else happened, Kaminari said to Aizawa-sensei. So you followed his order? Aizawa-sensei's eyes widened with a smile. Well, yeah, I think so, I replied to him. Ugh, you guys are. Aizawa-sensei stopped as he heard Uraraka scream. Midoriya? All of us went to Uraraka and saw Midoriya's body getting cuts all over. What? Aizawa-sensei was baffled. Who is doing this? Tsuyu thought to herself. We don't know. I was shocked to see what had happened. Present time Midoriya POV. Come get me. Yoshino came in closer to me then created giant rockets. You won't get away. The rockets flew to me in high speeds, however I created a shield in order to protect me from the rockets' explosions. The explosions were enough to make the ground shake and was enough to destroy the buildings behind me. This guy's tough, I whispered as metal parts flew to me quickly. Now you can't get away. Yoshino made the metal parts follow me non-stop. The metal parts were a bit hard to dodge, but I was able to get used to it. At the moment he was out of metal, I used my quirk and ran straight for him. Smash! I hit his face hard only to notice it was a fake, idiot. I turned around to see Yoshino grab me by the face, and he lifted me up like I was air. Die. Yoshino had created a sword to stab me with. When he was about to do it, I retaliated and kicked him in the jaw hard. I grabbed his arm and removed it. You little brat, he screamed loudly. The ground shook and cracked. What's happening? I thought to myself when I saw a gigantic boulder heading towards me. What? I ran away and used one for all. What the heck? The ground turned to a slide going down endlessly. The boulder was still chasing me and I was falling fast. I needed to destroy the boulder. Smashed. I punched the boulder hard, but it still kept going. I had to go 100% to be able to destroy something this big. I need to create something to stop the boulder. I can't afford to injure myself. I opened my hand and made a sticky mine. I sticked it to the boulder and then set the timer. The mine was going to explode in 10 seconds. I acted fast and jumped high to go on top of the boulder. I escaped quickly and was able to get to the surface. The boulder exploded and the ground shook. It ain't over yet. Yoshino made multiple monsters to attack me. There were big ones and small ones around me. I just have to make ones who were bigger and badder. Bring it on. The monsters I created clashed with the other monsters. It was devastating. Soon the monsters destroyed the buildings around us. Midoriya? Yoshino went for a punch. I dodged it and did a counterattack. I kicked him on the jaw, which made him fly away. Yoshino stood up and looked at me. The monsters were fighting each other and the ground was shaking. I will defeat you. Yoshino floated and lasers came out of his hands while I put my hands at my side and started to gather power. 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. I blasted Yoshino, but he retaliated. Our lasers clashed and his almost overwhelmed mine. However, I released all that I got and my blast overwhelmed his. He went down the ground and groaned in pain. I landed safely and rested. Ha! I never knew you were such a man. Yoshino stood up while he laughed. You're gonna pay for that. Yoshino made a large crack in the ground, enough for me to fall in, but I jumped before it reached me. Yoshino ran after me and created a rocket launcher. Die. He shot the rocket straight at me. It exploded midair because I had made a force field around me. Persistent. I landed and Yoshino ran as grabbed me by the shirt. I kicked his guts so hard. Yoshino vomited BLD. Smash. I punched him with 5% Detroit smash. 𝐒𝐻𝐿. He flew to the monster behind him. The monster picked up Yoshino and fused him with its skin. Yoshino was now fused with a gigantic monster. The monster roared so loud it attracted the other monsters. Soon Yoshino battled the monsters one-on-one. Unfortunately, Yoshino won and the monsters disappeared quickly. Bring it on, Midoriya. The monster spoke. I ran to him and made multiple swords and spears to impale him. All of the swords and spears were useless because of the monster's thick skin. It charged straight at me and then went for a punch. I dodged most of its attacks, but one caught me off guard and it punched me to a building. I needed to separate Yoshino and the monster. I created a new set of monsters for it to battle. I stood straight up and ran fast. My whole body was weak and exhausted, but I needed to save Nejire and not let my friends down. I jumped on top of Yoshino and climbed my way up to its head. Here we go. I grabbed a hold of Yoshino and pulled him away from the monster. Come on. I pulled with all my strength. The monster tried to reach me from behind, but it couldn't. I screamed as I pulled Yoshino out of the monster. The monster died and disappeared as my monsters. I fell down to the floor and breathed heavily. Yoshino stood up and grabbed me, then punched me. I hate you. He punched me again and again until he was tired. I hate you too. I uppercut him, which made him fly. He just stood upright with his face looking down. Don't you feel tired? Yoshino asked me with a smile. Shut up, I replied to him. I have to tell you something that you might want to hear. He smiled at me. I'm never gonna listen to you, so shut up. I shouted at him. Don't you want to know where Nejire is? My heart stopped beating as I heard him say this. What do you mean? I asked. I know where she is and why she is so important to us. Yoshino glared at me and smiled. Let's cut to the chase. The reason Nejire is so important to us is because of you. Yoshino pointed at me while still glaring. I stood frozen in my place, not knowing what to do. Yes, the reason is you. You are All Might's predecessor, right? That lousy stupid 𝗕𝗪𝙪𝙮 who thinks he can save everyone who is in danger. Yoshino shouted and stomped his foot. I hated All Might and what he did to our society. I stopped him from speaking further. Wait, did you just say? Yoshino smiled again and then laughed. Yes, I said us. What's the matter? You didn't know it by now. Isn't it obvious? I was hired by Shigaraki Tamura to kill you. I was shocked to hear this. Too, I didn't want to move, or my body didn't want to move. Ha! You idiotic brat. Yoshino laughed so hard it was irritating. Shigaraki? I thought to myself, yes, Shigaraki and I were working together just to kill you. He hated you and All Might, so he had to the best hire a hitman for the job and he chose me. Yoshino raised his arms and made the world black. I looked around me and saw that Yoshino was gone. What the heck? I looked back and saw him with a dagger. I acted fast and blocked his attack by making a force field. Come on! Yoshino shouted as he disappeared into the darkness again. I had to think of a plan to defeat him. He was moving everywhere in the dark. It was very hard to see him. Midoriya, come get me, he repeated again and again, whispering to my ear. I felt the space becoming small. I touched the space around me and felt Yoshino's hand grabbing my arm. Die. Yoshino tried to stab me with his dagger, but I retaliated and punched his gut. The darkness around me disappeared and the space became normal again. What happened? I looked at Yoshino holding his gut. You brat. He looked at me with a glare and then the whole world turned red. What's happening? I asked myself. It's time to die. Yoshino flew and the ground shook. What? I stared at Yoshino, who was gathering his power on his palm. I'm gonna blow this world off the surface. Yoshino created a small ball on his palm. This small ball can destroy the whole world just touching the surface, and there's no way to stop it. The ball went down and I just looked. No. I ran beneath Yoshino and created a force field. It's no use. You'll die right now. Yoshino laughed while the small ball became gigantic. It's gonna touch the surface and everything will be turned to oblivion. I gritted my teeth and gulped. I have to stop it for my friends. I thought to myself and made the force field wrap around the huge energy ball. What are you doing? Yoshino looked at me with fear. I'm gonna stop this once and for all. I smiled and the force field was all around the gigantic energy ball. The whole world shook as the gigantic energy ball touched the force field. No. Yoshino shouted as the force field broke and the explosion bursted out of it. He was blown away while I was too. The buildings around us turned to dust. The land was destroyed and our bodies were engulfed in the giant explosion. I smiled thinking of Nejire. Goodbye, Nejire POV. When I woke up in a coffee shop wondering what happened earlier, I looked around and at my cold coffee. What? I raised my eyebrow and saw a waitress walk by. Hey miss. Where are all the people? I waved my arms to catch her attention but she wouldn't notice me. Mississippi. I walked up to her and tapped her shoulder. Hello. She faced me with a grin which startled me. 𝐒𝐻. I screamed and backed away. I started to notice that it was a bit too quiet. I looked outside the glass door behind me and saw no people walking around. What is it that you want to ask me? The waitress startled me again. Oh. Where are all the people? I stared at her from far away. Why, they left. She grinned at me again. I tilted my head. They left, she said again, but this time it sounded like she was dying. Why? And I smiled awkwardly. They left, they left, they left. The waitress was now repeating the same thing over and over again. What the? I noticed that the ground was shaking and it only got stronger. I fell but I held on a table. I looked at the waitress and froze. They left, they left. The waitress looked like an old doll from hell. Her eyes weren't there and her body was becoming black. Mississippi, I shouted, then everything turned black. I woke up sweating. What the heck? I held my head and tried to process what I just dreamed. I remember that I had an argument with Midoriya. I was inside a weird room, a girly one. Stood up and walked outside but I just saw the living room. I felt pain on my side and saw a wound, a big one. Oh, you're awake, an old lady politely said to me. Oh hi, I waved my hand. Minutes later, what happened? I asked the lady. I found you lying in the construction site unconscious, she replied. Is this your room? I asked her again, though I didn't feel like being curious right now. No, it's my granddaughter's, but you're welcome to stay if you want. The old lady handed me a cup of tea. Thanks, but I really need to get home, I smiled. What's your name, dear? The old lady asked me. Nejire, I replied with a smile. such a appealing name, she sighed. Thanks, I smiled at her. A lot of time has passed and I still had a bad feeling that something about the old lady wasn't right. Good thing she was getting food from a nearby store, I thought to myself. I went into her granddaughter's room to investigate. Everything was fine and I didn't see anything suspicious except for a weird photo. It was her granddaughter and her parents. She's somehow familiar, but it was really hard to see since the photo was half ripped for some reason. I moved on and looked at other photos. The photos seemed really ominous. I felt a bad feeling about this. I saw another photo, but this time it was Midoriya. And what? I quickly held the picture in my hand and gasped to see it had a signature on the side. My heart sank when I realized that the signature was written by Himiko Toga. I knew something was odd about this house. Also is the old lady Himiko Toga. I looked outside to see if the coast was clear. Thankfully it was. When I got outside, I walked to the front door to leave. I grabbed the doorknob and turned it, but to my surprise it was locked. I was shocked and panicking inside my head. Oh no. I'm inside a villain's house. I rapidly turned the doorknob and didn't notice that someone was behind me. When I turned around, I saw the old lady with a knife in her hand. I gasped and froze from fear. Hello, Nejire, the old lady transformed into Himiko Toga with a smile. Why are you doing this? I asked her, afraid of what she might do. You don't remember. Oh well, whatever, she said, only this time she wasn't smiling but with a frown. I stuttered like a kid. You stole Midoriya from me. Now I'll make sure that the love of his life pays for what she has done. She quickly raised the knife in her hands and stabbed me in my shoulder. I yell in agony and pain as she pulled it out forcefully. Why, monster? I fell down to my knees. I'll make you remember everything. Toga went closer and headbutt me so hard it made me fall to the ground with blood coming out of my head. Have a nice sleep. She waved goodbye to me as my eyes slowly shut into darkness. Earlier that night I walked around trying to forget about Midoriya and our fight. Flashback. Tell me, was all you said just a lie? Like how you would never leave my side. What do you mean? You two were having fun. What about me, Midoriya? What do you think of me? Am I just a puppet who did all your bidding? Is that what I am? End flashback. I didn't notice that I was walking to a pole, so I hit my head. Ouch. I looked in front of me to see a poster with two couples sitting together. Hey Nejire, why don't we go get ice cream? Midoriya held out his hand for me. Sure, I replied. Come on. Midoriya grabbed my hand. The last thing I know, it was all an illusion created by my mind and I was alone in the night talking to myself, with what could have been. I resumed walking around and got to the playground. No one was there, so I just sat down on the swing. Want me to push you? Midoriya looked down on me with a smile. I held onto the chains and waited for him, but still it was just an illusion. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've been sad. I was always happy since I was a kid, but now I feel different from other people, I mumbled to myself. When I grew up and went to UA to become a hero, I never knew I'd be able to meet such good people in my life that's always been with me throughout the years. Mirio and Tamaki were the only two people I was close with when I entered UA. I still remember their first impressions on me. Years ago. Hello. My name is Mirio, what's your name? Mirio said with his usual smile and optimistic attitude towards everyone. Hi. My name is Nejire. Nice to meet you. I still had my curiosity up until now. What's your quirk? Wait, do you have one? Of course you do. I mean, you wouldn't be here without a quirk, right? I just continued to ask him questions when suddenly he turned his attention to a boy behind me looking down while walking. Oh hey. Tamaki over here. He said, pointing to a desk next to him. Tamaki? I looked behind to see that he looked kinda depressed. Tamaki, this is Nejire. Nejire, this is Tamaki. Mirio pointed at us simultaneously. Hey Tamaki. What's your quirk? What's your favorite color? Do you have a girlfriend? I asked him so many questions that he couldn't answer even one. He stuttered and looked away from us. Mirio, I don't think I'm cut out for this. Tamaki shivered. Nonsense. Mirio slapped Tamaki's back and I just laughed at them. After that we just became friends and have always been there for each other. I never knew how much they meant to me until now. Present, I sat at the swing for a few minutes until I stood up and walked away. I decided whether to go back to the school or go home. I couldn't decide, so I just walked around again. When I was walking down the road, I noticed that someone walked into the far alleyway and disappeared. I shrugged it off and just continued to walk. I stopped for a moment to look at the stars. After looking at the stars, I heard a rustle in the bushes. I backed away and stood in a fighting stance. I stared at the bush for a few seconds until a squirrel jumped out of it. I sighed in relief. Just when I was about to calm down, I saw the squirrel get brutally stabbed with a knife, killing it instantly. I backed away from shock and fear. Hey Nejire, Toga stood from the bushes and grinned evilly. Toga. I used my quirk to attack her, but she dodged it. Don't be scared. Toga grinned again. What do you want? I demanded. You really want to know? Toga said as she pulled out her knife inside her pocket. I glared at her, feeling anger all the way through my body. She ran towards me and started to attack me with the knife. Fortunately, I dodged all her attacks. Toga pulled out another knife and it. Do you really want to know? She asked with an evil smile. If you aren't gonna tell me, then I'll just beat it out of you. I shouted at her. That's not a very nice thing to say. She prepared for my attack and I ran closer to her while I gathered energy. Nejire? I saw Midoriya's face through Toga. It was like I hallucinated. Hey, she stabbed me in the stomach while I was distracted. Midoriya? She asked. 𝐒𝐻? I spat out BLD and covered my mouth. Did something happen between you and Midoriya? Toga tilted her head as she asked. It's none of your business, I said between breaths. Toga walked closer to me and deepened the knife inside my stomach. I yelled in excruciating pain. Mind telling me now? Toga smiled with bloodlust in her eyes. No, I glared at her. Okay, she deepened the knife. I yelled in pain once again. I was powerless. I couldn't use my quirk because of the stab. I was helpless. It was too painful. Toga grabbed my hair and pulled it backwards to see my face. Ah, so cute, she said. I won't tell you. I denied her again, but this time she just stood up. I could see her thinking about why I was mentioning Midoriya. Could it be that you broke up? You know, because of 𝐒𝐻𝐿. She glared at me after saying 𝐒𝐻𝐿. What? How did she know about our breakup and 𝐒𝐻𝐿? Could it be that she's 𝐒𝐻𝐿? I need to know first. I was shocked. How could she have known, and how did she know? I laid there with wide eyes looking at her, just glaring at me. How did you know about 𝐒𝐻𝐿? I questioned her. It's simple. Toga sat down in front of me. I'm 𝐒𝐻𝐿, she shouted with a wide grin. What? I froze as I knew the truth. Toga cupped her hands and touched my left cheek. Oh, how I love the look on your face. I love it so much, she said like she was crazy. Why? I asked her silently. She didn't hear me. Why are you doing this? I asked her once again. You want to know, Toga stood up and turned around. Tell me. I shouted. Okay, I'll tell you. She faced me with her evil smile. Meanwhile, Mirio POV, man, I'm bored, I said while facing Tamaki. You're always bored, he said silently. There's just nothing to do, you know, I concluded. Tamaki and I were sitting beside Class 1A because Midoriya had fallen unconscious for no reason. I had nothing to do in the time being. Hey, let's go find Nejire. I whispered to Tamaki. What? We still don't know where she is, and furthermore, we don't even know what happened to Midoriya, she quickly stated. Look, Tamaki, there's a chance that the one who's causing all this might be here. I leaned in closer to Tamaki for him to hear better. What do you suppose we plan on doing, he asked. I say, we find the guy causing this problem, bring him here and interrogate him. I covered my left side with my hand so no one would overhear us. Tamaki nodded and we went off quietly. After a couple of minutes, we couldn't find anything. We were starting to give up, but then I saw something very strange. It was in dark room, and the only thing that gave off light was the weird glowy thingy that was in front of us. It looked like some kind of chamber of some sorts. What's this? I touched the surface of the weird thing and swiped to the right. It was a glass surface. Now we could look through it. What we saw immediately shocked both of us. It was a person inside the thing. Tamaki cleaned the glass surface and then we saw the whole thing. A person was inside and he was like underwater. He was injected with some wires connected to his back and had a hood preventing us from seeing his face. We both were in awe. We have to tell everyone. I shouted as I ran back to tell everyone. However, they somehow seemed devastated. Like someone died, and it turns out that I was right. Midoriya's body was starting to have more cuts and had a huge burn on his right arm reaching all the way to the right side of his face. He had bruises on his face and his shirt was gone, revealing his chest that had the same burn from his right arm. His left arm, however, was okay, nothing seemed to happen to it. Tamaki and I were left in shock and worried about Midoriya's current state. We didn't know what to do. I stood there for what seemed like forever until finally I walked up to Eraserhead and told him about the weird thing. What? Where? He responded, there. I pointed to the building that the thing was in. He nodded and stood up. Okay everyone. Calm down. I know this looks bad, but we just found something that might be what's causing all this, he said to all of them. What do you mean? Ida asked. Mirio found something inside that building and we're going to investigate what it is. Eraserhead pointed to the building. What about Midoriya? Tsuyu asked, truly worried for Midoriya. Some of you will stay and will let us know if something happens, Eraserhead said. Eraserhead went somewhere and picked the students who were coming with us. We were waiting for his response when all of a sudden Midoriya woke up. All of us were startled at his action and froze. Midoriya? Uraraka was so close to crying that her tears were visible. Midoriya, most of the class hugged Midoriya and broke down in tears. I simply smiled at them. Where am I? Midoriya seemed confused and noticed his burns. You're alive. Momo hugged him, trying not to hurt him. Eraserhead noticed Midoriya was awake and ran to him. Midoriya, you're awake, he said with a surprised face. Aiza? Midoriya passed out and was about to fall, but Ida caught him. Midoriya? Ida shouted. What happened? Eraserhead asked. I don't know, Aizawa-sensei, Ida replied. After some time we put Midoriya down on the futon Momo had made with her quirk. All of us were sitting beside Midoriya and worrying. Eraserhead came back to us and announced that Todoroki, Ida, Tamaki and Momo will be coming with us. When we got there, the body was gone and all the water was spilled on the floor. The guy escaped, Todoroki said while he inspected the place. Where could he have gone? Eraserhead touched the liquid on the ground. Guys? Momo called for us. What is it? Eraserhead questioned her. Looked, she pointed to the wet footsteps going to the other room. We walked slowly and cautiously. When we got closer, Eraserhead told us to stop and wait. He opened the door, but he wasn't there. All of us were confused at the sight. Suddenly the man bursts out of the wall next to me. Luckily I used my quirk so he phased through me. What the? Eraserhead looked back to see the man. This guy. Todoroki used his ice to stop him, but he did a wall run and dodged the ice, which hit Momo. Sorry. Todoroki apologized to Momo. You won't get away. Ida chased the man. Todoroki used his flames to melt the ice and free Momo. Where is he? Eraserhead asked us. Ida chased after him, I replied. Let's go, he said, then we ran back to the group. When we got there everyone was asleep, including Ida. What happened? Todoroki looked shocked at the sight. Look. Momo pointed at Aoyama being strangled by the man. Help, Aoyama said as he tried to free himself. Put him down. Eraserhead shouted at the man. He didn't respond, instead he made Aoyama sleep and ran away. Get back here. Eraserhead tried to chase the man. Taki. Let's go. I said to him as he nodded and followed Eraserhead. Momo POV, I ran to Aoyama and looked at him. How is this possible? I wondered. It's probably that guy's quirks, Todoroki said as he walked to me. What do you mean? I asked him. Maybe he was the one who made Midoriya fall asleep, he said. You're right, I agreed with him. At the playground, Nejire POV, in no way, I froze in my place. That's right, Toga smiled at me, showing her canines. He was just trying to protect me. I had endless flashbacks in my head about the fight we had. What's wrong? You don't seem happy, she said, still grinning. It can't be, I said as Toga went closer to me and pulled the knife out of my stomach. I screamed in pain. Your beer tastes good, Toga slowly the knife. You and I are gonna have a hell of a time, she whispered in my ear. She punched me at my wound and spat out so much BLD. You like that? She asked and went for another punch. I tried to hold back tears, but it was impossible. Toga paused for a brief moment. Midoriya's going to be mad once he finds out his girlfriend is dead. She punched me again and made me fall to the ground. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about What If Deku Was Nejire's Inspiration Part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story, The Real D4 Archicast 3, are from Wattpad. So let's start the video. Oh, did you fall asleep? Oh well, I'll just show your body to Midoriya and see how he likes it, Toga said to me before my eyes shut. Minutes later I slowly opened my eyes to see myself being dragged by the leg and facing the sky. You're heavy. Toga pulled my leg and really struggling with dragging me along. Phew. I'm right here. She stopped. When I opened my eyes I was at a construction site. I'll just leave you here. I saw Toga walk away happily. I tried to stay awake but it was nearly impossible because of the BLD loss I have had. Stay awake, I said inside my head, but my eyes were already shutting down. The last thing I saw was the appealing night sky. Nejire POV, I felt cold and numb as I slowly opened my eyes. The sky was full of stars and the moon illuminated the whole street. I felt a stinging pain coming from my stomach. It was the stab wound that Toga gave me earlier. I could hear footsteps getting closer to me, almost as if someone was running towards me. I tried to sit up but my body wouldn't move and I stayed there frozen. Mississippi, are you okay? A hero patrolling the streets kneeled down and asked me. My eyes widened as I felt relief. It's a hero, we need an ambulance, he said to another hero he was with. Got it, the other hero replied. Don't worry, you'll be fine now, he assured me. He looked down on my wound and saw a puddle of BLD extending to his left hand. Hurry. She's losing a lot of BLD, he shouted. My eyes slowly closed once again as everything eventually turned to darkness. Todoroki POV Yaoyorozu and I tried to wake up our classmates but it was no use. It seems the quirk that the man used is able to knock out people for long of time. Why don't you use your quirk to wake them up? Yaoyorozu suggested and I nodded in response. I used my ice to touch Ida's cheek down to certain temperature so that he would wake up. The ice covered his left cheek but he still wasn't waking up. I stopped and thought of using my flames until I heard an explosion nearby. What was that? Yaoyorozu asked. I stood up as I realized someone was missing. That guides. I gritted my teeth. A few minutes earlier, Mirio POV, we won't let you get away, I shouted as Tamaki used his tentacles to grab the man. His hand emitted purple light as he tried to touch Tamaki's tentacle. I won't let you. Eraserhead used his quirk to erase his quirk before letting him touch Tamaki. The light from his hands suddenly disappeared. As Eraserhead and I were running towards him, a few pieces of flesh dropped on the ground and we stopped. Tamaki suddenly screamed and felt hazy. Tamaki! I ran towards him. His tentacles let go of the man and his knees fell on the ground. Did you really think I would come unprepared? The man said while showing his body to us. It had small needles coming out of his chest and waist, as well as his arms. 𝐒𝐻𝐵𝐆TRD. I was about to use my quirk but Eraserhead stopped me. Wait, Mirio. There's some kind of gas coming out. He looked at the man intently. I also noticed gas coming out of the small holes where the needles were. Slowly, one by one, the needles fell on the ground and more gas came out. The man eerily smiled at us. Mirio! Eraserhead shouted as he ran back and carried Tamaki. I got ready to use my quirk when suddenly a boy came flying down in front of me. Die! He shouted as a huge explosion appeared. I realized who the boy was and smirked. Todoroki POV, I ran towards where the explosion came from after explaining something. Flashback, was that really Bakugo? She asked, concerned. Yeah, he wasn't here when I checked earlier, I replied. I could notice that Yaoyorozu was really worried for our classmates. Stay here and watch over them, I said, facing the direction where we heard the explosion. What are you going to do? I'll check that place out, I pointed to the building in front of me. It might have come somewhere from there, I continued. She whispered. I looked back at her in confusion. I'll come with you, she shouted. You can't. There'll be no one here to watch over them, I denied her request. Beep, she stuttered in response. If someone is going to check it out, it's me. We can't risk having a girl like you to be in a risky situation, but you leaving me here is also dangerous. You can't just leave a girl out here in the streets, I sighed in response to what she said. Then I guess I'll have to stay here with you for now, Yaoyorozu suddenly gasped. Her eyes sparkled and covered her mouth with her hand. I was confused at her action. What is it? Hey! Everyone! Someone shouted. We looked to see who it is and noticed it was Kirishima. Kirishima? Yaoyorozu said with a confused face. I forgot to tell you, Kirishima wasn't here as well, I replied to her. Oh. What happened here? Kirishima said as he noticed everyone lying on the ground. A man-villain appeared. His quirk can make people fall asleep. I explained everything to him afterwards. We can't just leave them like this, he said while walking to Yaoyorozu. Make something. I'll try my best, but there's too many people here. I can't make that much, Yaoyorozu said while looking at them. It's all right, we'll take care of the others, a familiar voice said in the shadows. Who's there? I asked, but there was no response. Whoa, no need to be on your guard. It's just us. They slowly walk into the light and suddenly stopped. Rock on with these sparkling gazes. We've come to lend a paw and help. Coming out of nowhere, stingingly cute and cat-like. Wild, wild pussycats. They said in unison and posed. They were in their civilian clothes. Pussycats. Yaoyorozu said in shock. What are you doing here? We were buying groceries and were supposed to return home, when suddenly we heard a loud explosion. Shino, Mandalay, explained, showing us what they bought. What happened here? Ryuko, Pixie Bob, asked, looking concerned. Were you attacked by villains again? Tomoko, Ragdoll, asked while being unable to stay still. Yeah, we were, I replied in monotone voice. They looked surprised and worried at the same time. Shino felt a pull on her shirt. Koda, Shino said, looking down behind her. Koda slowly peeked out and walked forward. Is Izuku okay? He asked shyly. Sadly, he's injured, I replied to his question. Can you guys take him to the hospital? Everything happened so fast, we weren't able to comprehend it all, I continued. Koda looked very worried about Midoriya and was glancing down. He'll be okay. Kirishima bent down and patted Koda's head. Koda nodded and walked back to Shino. By the way, was that explosion caused by Bakugo? Kirishima turned to me and asked. Yeah, it's definitely him, I said as I looked back. What happened earlier anyway? You guys were left behind, I questioned him. Well, Kirishima scratched the back of his head. Earlier Kirishima POV'd minute. Bakugo shouted, that Deku forcing us to find that blue woman. We looked everywhere and there's still no sign of her. We walked to our next destination. Bakugo seemed really annoyed, so I thought it was best not to talk to him yet. Suddenly, someone walked out of an alleyway to our left. The figure was that of a girl. The place was dark, so we couldn't see who it was. I squinted my eyes in hopes of identifying the mysterious person. Who's there? I asked. The person didn't reply. Instead, she just walked away. As soon as I was going to grab her arm, a car passed by with its headlights illuminating the whole street and then dimming down again. Even if it was just a second, I saw who the person was. I froze in place and trembled in fear. Die. Bakugo suddenly created an explosion at the girl. I used my quirk to withstand the detonation. Stop standing around, he shouted at me, and I went back to reality again. I saw that the girl vanished and there was no trace of her. I'm gonna catch her, Bakugo shouted, using his explosions to fly away. Che. What about me? I asked him, but he just ignored me and continued to chase the girl. I guess I have no choice, I said inside my head and ran towards Bakugo. Bakugo POV, that girl, I know for sure that she's the one. She's not fast enough to run away. I could clearly see her turning the corner, but when I turned, she was nowhere to be found. I landed on the ground looking for her while on my guard. Suddenly, someone came out from the darkness. Why are you here? Nejire said in a confused tone. Wait a second, I thought in my head. I heard running from behind me and saw Kirishima. Bakugo, why did you stop? He said, catching his breath. He looked up and saw Nejire as well. Nejire-senpai. We finally found you. Kirishima was about to approach her, but I stopped him. Don't be stupid. That's not who we're looking for, I said to him, but he just looked confused. What are you talking about? He asked. Think about it, the girl earlier, what's her quirk? I questioned him. Sudden realization hit him and he immediately went on guard. Oh my, you saw through it. I thought I could escape. The girl's body suddenly melted and we saw her true form. She was naked, but I didn't care. Kirishima covered his eyes. Hey, where's the blue woman? I asked her bluntly. Oh, Nejire, she paused for a second. She's dead, Toga said with an ominous smile. Kirishima looked shocked, but I didn't believe in anything she said. I only had one thing in mind. I'm gonna catch this witch, die. I flew towards her using my explosion and directed it in front of her. There was no way she could have escaped that. Suddenly, I saw blue light appear. It grew larger until I saw another villain in front of me. I saw him looking upon me. Demon, that was a huge explosion, he said while he ignited floor with his bright blue flames. I managed to get away. He created a huge wall of blue flames. Can't believe I'm the one fetching you, 𝗕𝗵𝗆 said. I actually thought twice would be here instead of you, Toga said, getting her clothes from the ground. Well, we need to get going now, 𝗕𝗵𝗆 said while walking away. Toga followed behind and then they disappeared. The fire's hot, Kirishima said as he felt the heat of the fire. They got away, I said as the blue flames dissipated. Kirishima sighed. Kirishima POV. What do we do now? I asked. We couldn't catch the villains. Bakugo decided that we should go back. Then, we heard shouting coming from our left. We ran towards the sound and saw Aizawa-sensei, Mirio, and Tamaki. In front of them was a man caught in Tamaki's tentacles. What should we do? I asked Bakugo quietly while hiding behind a wall. Isn't it obvious? I'm going to blow him up, Bakugo said as he devised a plan. You'll jump into the air? I asked, confused by him. Just do it, he responded. Tamaki screamed in pain and we saw the man's body leak gas everywhere. Here we go, I said as I used my hands to boost him. He stepped on my hands and jumped as soon as I lifted them up. He was surprisingly high off the ground. He can't really use the explosions as it would catch the man's attention. But with this, he'll surely be able to land a hit on that guy. I looked up to him while he dived towards the man. Die, he shouted as he created a huge explosion. Present, so that's what happened, I laughed awkwardly. I see, Todoroki muttered and nodded. Author's POV. Uraraka's eyes slowly opened as she saw the others talking about something. Her vision was a bit blurry and as she couldn't remember anything. Yaoyorozu noticed her and immediately rushed to her aid. Uraraka, she shouted and helped her get up. The others were surprised by her. Uraraka, you woke up? Todoroki asked. Uraraka felt dizzy and couldn't stand up properly. I don't know, all I could remember was that I was in a dream where we became pro-heroes and then, a light appeared. It was a faint green light, getting brighter and brighter until everything was just white, she responded. Slowly, the others opened their eyes. One by one, their eyes opened. Ida was the first one. He had tears in his eyes. Mineta was smiling smugly until he awoke and just became sad and gloomy. They rubbed their eyes and stretched their bodies as if they just had a nice nap. Yet, they were feeling hazy and didn't remember what exactly happened when they were asked by Todoroki and the others. Only thing they remember was their dream and the light. It was definitely strange. Why don't they remember anything else? What was the faint light they saw? Was the villain finally defeated? These questions were roaming around Todoroki's head as he tried to think of what happened. Deku-kun? Uraraka cried. He wasn't waking up like the others. The others noticed this and approached Midoriya's seemingly lifeless body. Everyone didn't know what to do. The pussycats finally decided to take Midoriya to the hospital. The others also decided to go to the hospital to check if Midoriya is going to be okay. The only ones that stayed were Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, Kirishima, Jiro, and Azui. They were eager to know more about this villain and what his motives were. The group was left confused as to what to do. Minutes of silence passed as they tried to make sense of what happened. Meanwhile, minutes ago, 𝗕𝗏𝗅. Bakugo shouted, blowing up the villain in front of him. Bakugo! Aizawa was surprised to see him. Bakugo landed on the ground. They waited for the smoke to clear to see if the man was defeated. To their surprise, he was gone. He was standing on a roof to their left. Katsuki Bakugo. Your quirk is definitely incredible. Midoriya's quirk is also incredibly powerful. It's honestly surprising how he was able to find my quirk's weakness. However, he's already dead. I've killed him. He won't be seeing the light of day. He was interrupted by Aizawa. You won't get away. He used his bindings to catch the man, but he dodged it. It's no use. I've been genetically modified to become the greatest villain of all time. It's all thanks to him. He gave me this gift. I was given heightened senses, superhuman strength, and more. There's no possible way you can defeat me. The man maniacally laughed until Mirio appeared behind him. You talk too much, Mr. Mirio said behind him. He slowly turned around, scared for his life. Mirio punched the guy in the guts, instantly knocking him out. The man fell off the roof, but Izawa caught him. He wrapped the man in his bindings and left him sitting on the side. Mirio got down and went back to Tamaki. Great job, Mirio. Now that he's out of the way, we can go back to where the others are, Izawa said. Bakugo listened from behind him. What about all that genetic modification and all that other nonsense he was talking about? Bakugo asked, clearly annoyed. It seems that he was just bluffing to scare us, Mirio responded. They continued to talk, but unbeknownst to them, the man was actually awake. I won't let you get away. He used his quirk to force Bakugo unconscious. He was just next to him and he fell against Izawa's shoulder and then caught him in his arms. Fell asleep. Izawa came to a realization, oh no. He noticed the man's hand was free and touched Bakugo's leg. I'll kill him as well, the man grinned like a madman. Izawa tightened the binding around the man, squeezing his entire body. He screamed in pain. See you later. He barely spoke and then fell unconscious. Izawa stopped tightening the binding and just sighed. Bakugo was caught, Tamaki said, facing the wall. Yeah, but don't worry, they'll beat him, Izawa responded. They heard running from their right and saw Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, Kirishima, Jiro, and Azui. Bakugo, Kirishima and the others walked towards him. Put him somewhere else, Izawa pushed Bakugo onto Kirishima's arms. Kurozu, make me something, he said and approached her. On it, she turned around and created a futon and a pillow. Kirishima gently placed Bakugo on it. You don't seem too worried, Sensei, Todoroki said with the others agreeing. As far as I know, Midoriya already knows the weakness to this man's quirk. He pointed to him. The others were shocked to see him for the first time. With that in mind, I know they're definitely gonna win. However, I'm still not sure if Midoriya won the battle earlier. One thing's for certain though, those two won't give up until the villain has been taken down. They will have to work together to take him down. If they can both use his weaknesses against him, then maybe there's a chance of them winning, Izawa continued. Why not just kill the man here? Jiro suggested bluntly. That's right. He's vulnerable right now. Someone can just probably kill him and we'll be able to get Midoriya and Bakugo back. Azui agreed to her statement. No, we can't do that. The number one reason is because we don't know what would happen if we actually kill the user. He might be unconscious, but he can still probably hear, feel, or sense us. When we was awake earlier, Midoriya was still fighting him in his dream dimension, or whatever. He might be hearing our conversation right now about how we're planning, Izawa disagreed. The others felt uneasy after hearing what he said. Not only that, if we kill the man right now, Midoriya and Bakugo might lose their consciousness forever as they never made it back to the real world voluntarily. Tamaki continued while facing the wall. He's right, Todoroki faced the inevitable truth. They were out of options. The only thing they can do right now is wait for the outcome of the battle. Whoever wins will come back to the real world. Right now, we can only hope that Midoriya and Bakugo win the battle against him. We'll be here guarding this man if he does anything suspicious. We can't let him go to prison just yet. He might have an ability to erase a person's consciousness, Izawa said, being very cautious of the man. This quirk is truly terrifying. Inside the dream dimension, Bakugo woke up looking at the white sky. He sat up and noticed the ground was covered in red liquid. Almost like BLD. He stood up and looked at the horizon. It seemed endless and vast. He turned around to see Midoriya on the ground. He walked towards him, but everything suddenly went black. This is not real, you are not real, this is a dream, he heard a voice coming from somewhere. It repeated the same words over and over. It started to irritate Bakugo. Shut up. You're annoying me, he shouted. The person said the same words countless of times until Bakugo had enough. I said shut up. He used his quirk to blast away his surroundings. To his surprise, the darkness was gone. He could see clearly. It was the same place as last time except everything was red. The place where they saw the man. He thought he was alone until he saw Midoriya lying on the ground, severely injured. He had a hole in his chest from which the spear impaled him. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo walked towards Midoriya to get a closer look. You're not gonna die from this, are you? He looked over his lifeless body and gritted his teeth. Hey, Dimanda, stop lying around. I know you're not dead. He shouted at him, don't you still have to save that blue woman? His voice was heard by Midoriya, which opened his eyes. He remembered Nejire. Bright light emitted from his body as he stood up. I still have to save Nejire. Midoriya stood up even with all his injuries. He looked at his hands and they were healing rapidly. His cuts, bruises and burns were disappearing. He was healing from something. After he was healed, the light disappeared. What happened? Midoriya was confused himself. He turned around to see 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo. Thank you, 𝐒𝐻𝐿 smiled. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo was clearly annoyed by it. What are you smiling on about? Want to get blasted to another planet? Besides, you should thank Recovery Girl for that. I can clearly see the mark from your arm. He shouted back in response. You're right. Midoriya was surprised to see it. The others probably brought you to a hospital where Recovery Girl is, 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo implied. Wow, I never expected to see that light show. A huge thank you to Recovery Girl for healing your wounds, Midoriya. I truly appreciate it. The man's voice was heard from their surroundings. Yoshino. Deku looked around to see where he is. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo as well. DMN coward. Show yourself. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo shouted at the man. No need to be rude, 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo. Now that Midoriya is healed, let's all have a party, shall we? Shut up. We don't need a party. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo shouted again. Why are you even celebrating? Shouldn't you be worried that I'm healed? Midoriya questioned Yoshino. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Because you'll meet your demise soon. After I release my army, the environment transformed into something different. It was a plain area in the middle of nowhere. Plus, meet my army. Yoshino showed his army of different monsters. It looked similar to Nomu. Hey nerd, didn't you discover this guy's weakness? 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo asked. Yeah, since this is a dream, we can just use our imagination and counter his attacks, Midoriya replied. Well then, let's make our own army. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo was getting fired up. New chapter. Let's go. No POVs here. 2 at the hospital. All Might was seen running through the halls, trying to find Izuku. Eventually, he found the room where he was in. Midoriya shouted. He opened the door with great force. All Might saw him lying down in bed, already healed. He sighed in relief, knowing that he was all right. Inside the room with him was the rest of Class 1A. They looked confused and seemed distressed. All Might, what are you doing here? Kaminari asked him. I heard the news. I came rushing in the hospital, worried about Midoriya, but it seems he's all right, All Might responded. The class was still worried about Midoriya as he was still not waking up. Where are the others? All Might asked the class. They decided to stay where Aizawa-sensei, Mirio and Tamaki were. I don't know what they want to do there, but I guess they're going to help them, Ojiro replied while All Might nodded. What about Nejire? He asked them. The class looked saddened. We still haven't found her yet, Ashido was hesitant to reply. The whole class looked like they just failed a test. Everyone was gloomy and stressed. All Might looked at Midoriya, still unconscious in bed, worried about him. Inside the dream dimension, 1 for all, full cowling 8%. Midoriya got ready to fight the army of monsters. Let's go. Midoriya and 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo approached the army with their fast speed. Attack. Yoshino ordered his army to attack the 2 students. They were closing in on each other. The distance. Getting smaller and smaller until they were face to face. Smash, he kicked the small monsters in front. These small fries are nothing. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo made a large explosion, engulfing the monsters. One by one, the small monsters were defeated. Amongst the chaos were the bigger monsters. Their strength were double the amount of the small ones. However, Midoriya and 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo were strong enough to beat them. Midoriya jumped high in the air and kicked the faces of his enemies. 𝐵𝑎𝑘ugo created explosions and obliterated them. Eventually, they were able to defeat all of them. Impressive. You were able to take down the first wave, Yoshino said to the two boys. They weren't even that strong, Bakugo said as Yoshino laughed maniacally. Don't worry, the next wave is here, he said as the biggest army of monsters appeared. Their sizes were comparable to that of buildings. Is he serious? Midoriya looked upon the gigantic army. He noticed something happening to his left. Bakugo was creating something from his imagination. A tall figure rose up from the ground. It was a scary creature to look at. Bakugo had created his own type of monster. The creature looked something out of a horror movie. It had sharp teeth, huge hands, and was about 20 meters tall. Still, its size was significantly smaller than the ones Yoshino made. Let's see whose monster is stronger, Bakugo said as his creation leaned forward and bent its knees. It created sparks from its hands, and in a flash, the creature flew, creating a gigantic explosion. Midoriya and Bakugo could barely stand up from the shockwave. The creature was in the air and landed on the monster's torso. It went so high up. Midoriya was surprised to see it from up there. The creature didn't hesitate to place its hand on the monster's chest and then blasted it open, creating a huge hole in the center. The monster fell on its knees and down on the ground while the creature jumped from each monster one by one, blasting their chests open. Hey, Deku. While my monster deals with them, we can go and find that 𝐵𝑠𝑡𝑟𝑑. Bakugo shouted. How do we do that? Midoriya asked. Bakugo pointed to what seems like a man, standing on one of the monster's shoulders. That's definitely him. Midoriya instantly recognized his appearance. He nodded at Bakugo and then proceeded to run towards the monsters. Midoriya climbed up on a monster's leg while Bakugo used his explosions to fly all the way up. However, as the monster moved its leg, Midoriya slipped and fell. Ah, he yelped as his hand slipped. Without hesitation, Bakugo grabbed Midoriya's hand and threw him upwards. He was able to reach the top and look at the monster's face. Yoshino was just behind 10 monsters, including the one in front of him. The creature jumped on the monster's chest and blasted a hole in it. Oh! Midoriya clinged onto the monster's falling body and jumped onto the next one. He didn't hesitate to jump onto the remaining monsters. Soon as he landed on the monster's shoulder, he noticed a large hand closing in to crush him. He jumped away and met with Bakugo. Die! He exploded the monster's face, which caused it to scream. Immediately, its hand appeared from the smoke and grabbed Bakugo. Kaken! Midoriya shouted as another hand grabbed him. Diamine? Bakugo tried to break free from the monster's grasp, but it was impossible. Midoriya also couldn't break free. He looked down and saw the creature was already dead after being crushed to death. Yoshino teleported on the monster's shoulder and smiled at the sight. I applaud you for reaching it this far, but I guess this is where it ends, Yoshino smiled ominously. The monster's hands crushed the two of them as they screamed in pain. Yoshino just laughed like a maniac. Goodbye, Midoriya and Bakugo, he laughed. It's not over yet? Midoriya shouted as the ground shook. What? Yoshino was confused. He looked down to see that the ground burst open and huge spikes appeared, stabbing the monster from its chest. The two were now free from its grasp. Midoriya ran up on its arm towards Yoshino. St. Louis smash, he kicked him but Yoshino dodged it. Bakugo flew to his side and blasted him with his quirk. His attack didn't work, however, as the man just let himself fall away. The falling body of the gigantic monster fell against the rest of the monsters behind it, squeezing them in place. They struggled to get out. Meanwhile, Yoshino landed on the ground as well as Midoriya and Bakugo. Yoshino raised his hand as all the monsters disappeared behind him while the two boys were confused. Hey, Nishimura. Are you looking down on us? Why'd you remove all those monsters? Bakugo shouted at him. Nishimura. Midoriya looked at him confused. I just thought that since this is our battle, why not actually fight you instead of using those creations? Yoshino responded as approaching them. Be careful, Kaken, this dimension is his to control, Midoriya said while activating One for All. I know, but this dimension can be controlled by us as well. Bakugo blasted the enemy in front, creating a huge explosion. As the dust cleared, Yoshino was shielding himself with a big turtle shell. He was able to block that. Midoriya looked surprised. Bakugo flew towards Yoshino, intending to hit him directly with his explosion. However, Before he did, Yoshino wasn't inside the turtle shell. Inside was actually a ticking time bomb. "Kaken!" Midoriya shouted. Bakugo turned to his and saw Midoriya, pushing him away. The bomb exploded, leaving dust and rocks flying everywhere. The two tumbled and rolled on the ground. "Demon nerd. I didn't need saving." Bakugo shouted. "Why, you almost got killed," Midoriya said with blood dripping from his head. "I told you I didn't need saving. I could have gotten out of there." Bakugo still shouted at Midoriya. Suddenly, they heard Yoshino's laugh from afar. "Seriously? Bickering while in a fight? How childish can you be?" Yoshino continued to laugh. "Shut up, old man. Where are you anyway? You're always hiding." "We're not playing hide and seek here," Bakugo retorted. "Calm down, I'm only right in front of you." Yoshino was walking towards them. "Let the real battle begin." He stared at them menacingly. Midoriya and Bakugo instantly ran towards the man and prepared to attack him. Midoriya's legs sunk inside the ground, like it was quicksand. At the same time, multiple crows appeared in front of Bakugo. "DMN birds!" Bakugo blasted away all the birds, killing them from the explosion. "Catcha!" Midoriya's whole body was sinking inside the ground as he struggled to get out. Bakugo noticed and grabbed his hand, pulling him out of the ground. Midoriya coughed a few times until a shadow of a man appeared behind them. Bakugo turned around and saw Yoshino. "I'm here," he said, close to Bakugo's face. He blasted him away, but he blocked it with a steel shield. Midoriya got up and ran towards him. Smash! Midoriya kicked his shield, pushing him back and leaving a dent. "Your quirk is definitely outstanding, Midoriya." Yoshino grinned from ear to ear. He created a sword from under the shield and attacked Midoriya. Thankfully, he dodged the attack and managed to get away. "Let's see you get away with this." Bakugo had created grenades and threw them underneath Yoshino's shield. He immediately ran away in a panic, leaving his weapons behind. As soon as he ran, Bakugo was already behind him. "Those were duds," he said with a grin as he directed his hands in front of Yoshino's face and then blasted him with a huge explosion. Midoriya watched as Yoshino's body flew and tumbled far away. "We got him!" Midoriya shouted in joy. He looked at Bakugo, who seemed to wobble around until he fell on his knees. Midoriya instantly knew something was wrong and ran towards him. "Kaken?" Midoriya asked a worried face. "I'm fine," Bakugo responded while breathing heavily. Midoriya clearly knew something was wrong. "Is it kicking in? The side effect?" Yoshino stood up slowly with his injuries. His legs could barely support him. "What did you do?" Midoriya was angry at him. "I didn't do anything, Midoriya, it's only a side effect of this quirk," Yoshino replied, barely breathing. "Quirk?" Midoriya was confused. He didn't understand what he was talking about. "What are you saying?" he asked him again. "I told you it's the side effect." Yoshino suddenly screamed like he was in pain. He covered his face as he fell to the ground. He felt his heart get crushed and his whole body in pain. What's going on? What quirk is he talking about? Midoriya thought to himself while he noticed Bakugo fall to the ground as well. Kaken, he looked at Bakugo, screaming in pain as he felt the same thing Yoshino did. Yoshino, what are you trying to say? What quirk? Midoriya asked him again. He was puzzled as to why they're experiencing pain all of a sudden. It's the side effect of my quirks. Every creation you make in the dream dimension, it shortens your lifespan. Yoshino responded, barely even able to speak. Your quirk. Every creation shortens your lifespan. Then why? Midoriya realized something strange, but before he could ask him again, his body started feeling pain. Gay. Midoriya couldn't move. It felt like his joints were stuck in place, and every time he tries to move, it just feels painful. Is this the side effect? No, it's different. If it was the side effect, I would have been on the ground screaming in pain too. Then what's causing this? Midoriya couldn't move his body. He also felt sharp pain coming from his chest where the spear impaled him earlier. With every attempt, the pain only got worse and worse. Move. You gotta move. He told himself as he tried to help Bakugo. It was then he realized something. Am I not fully healed yet? He thought to himself, I probably shouldn't have started moving around so much. Recovery Girl's quirk is not enough for me to fully heal from the injuries Yoshino gave me. Everything I do here will have a result in the real world. I probably didn't have enough stamina earlier, so she used it for just a short PRD of time. I forgot about this. Oh no, my vision's getting blurry. Midoriya felt exhausted and wobbled around, but he didn't let himself fall. The injuries he suffered earlier were first-degree burns, broken bones, and a stab wound. He knew what would happen if heal was used on him. Yet, he only experienced it after a while. He was too focused on the battle that he didn't even think if he was actually alright. He made a grave mistake. No good, gotta stay awake. I need to beat Yoshino, I need to save Nejire. Midoriya's eyes were beginning to shut. He looked at Yoshino, who had just stopped screaming but was still lying on the ground. Then it happened, the side effect kicked in. Midoriya had been fighting in the dream dimension longer than Bakugo did, and he has made more creations. So it's only natural that the pain he would be experiencing, along with his current condition, would be agonizing to say the least. Midoriya screamed in intense pain. He felt his heart get crushed and his body feel pain all over. He fell to the ground, trying to endure it. Meanwhile, back in the real world, everyone saw what was happening to Midoriya and Bakugo. At Aizawa and the others, a few minutes before Midoriya experienced the side effect, "Hey man, this is bad. Bakugo looks like he's in pain," Kirishima said while looking at Bakugo. "Not just that, this man's screaming like crazy." Aizawa restrained Yoshino with his bindings. "Are they alright?" Azui asked the group. "I'm not sure," Aizawa responded. Suddenly his phone rang. It was a call from All Might. "Hello," All Might said as Aizawa answered the call. "Why'd you call?" Aizawa asked, moving away from the screaming Yoshino. "Are the kids there alright?" "Where's the villain?" he asked. "The kids are safe. The villain is now apprehended. However, he's used his quirk on Bakugo and now the man's screaming in pain," Aizawa replied with a sigh. "Screaming in pain?" All Might was confused. "I don't understand either. But, after some time, he just started screaming all of a sudden. Something must have happened when he used his quirk on Bakugo," Aizawa responded. There was a second of silence until Aizawa asked, "How's Midoriya?" "He's alright now. The injuries he got earlier are now healed thanks to Recovery Girl. Although, it's not fully healed. We still need to do surgery with his stab wound," All Might replied to his question. "I see," Aizawa sighed again. "Is Bakugo Shounen okay?" All Might questioned him. "He does look like he's feeling pain, but we don't understand what's causing it." "It might be the same thing as the man," Aizawa replied. "He's feeling pain." Without warning, Midoriya screamed in pain and agony. Both sides heard his loud screams. All Might turned around to see Midoriya and barged inside the room. "Midoriya, what's going on?" Kaminari looked worried. Everyone did too. All Might, "What's happening? Is Midoriya okay?" Aizawa questioned All Might, who was witnessing the horrible moment. "I'll have to call you later, Aizawa. Something came up." He hanged up in a hurry and proceeded to call the doctors. "Hello." Aizawa put his phone back in his pocket. "Is everything alright?" Todoroki asked him, but he couldn't answer. He didn't know what to say. The man stopped screaming. Aizawa noticed and checked on Yoshino. To his surprise, the man was awake. "You tell me what's happening." Aizawa approached the man. "It's too late, he's going to lose his life," Yoshino said with joy in his eyes. "Lose his life?" Aizawa looked at the man fiercely. Back in the dream dimension, Midoriya screamed as he struggled to move, "My body." He noticed Yoshino standing up and approaching him. "This is my quirk, Midoriya. I'm truly sorry for this, but you're going to die," Yoshino said with a smile on his face. "This pain, it's like one for alls," Midoriya thought in his mind. He struggled to stand up and breathe while Yoshino watched him. He raised his hand while holding a sword. "I don't have much time, I used too much of my power." Yoshino's hand trembled as he struggled to keep it in the air. "Die, Midoriya," he shouted as he tried to stab him when all of a sudden, Bakugo stood up. "Nobody's dying on my watch." He used his quirk and blasted him away while trying not to get Midoriya hurt. Plus, Kaken Midoriya was almost passing out. "Stand back, nerd, I'll deal with him myself," Bakugo said with a grin. "But why is it always like this?" I just wanted to be accepted. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Yoshino was filled with sadness and rage. His mind felt blank and the world around him turned into darkness. You look troubled. Come with me and I will give you what you need. What's your name? Yoshino asked. All for one, before we start, I'll fill you in on what Yoshino's quirk is. Name: Yoshino Horiuchi quirk. Dream description: he is able to make people fall asleep or unconscious. The victim is unable to wake up unless Yoshino wants them to. He is also able to put people in his dream dimension. However, he can only put a maximum of 2 people inside. While inside the dream dimension, Yoshino is able to create anything at the cost of his own life force, resulting in a very painful and agonizing experience. The more creations you make, the worse the pain gets. The only people to know about his weakness currently are Midoriya, Bakugo, and All for One. That's all you need to know. Enjoy the chapter. Yoshino desperately gasped for air as his quirk was slowly starting to kill him. Bakugo staggered towards him and pointed his palms right in front of the dying man's face. Suddenly, the ground began to fall apart. The 2 heroes noticed Yoshino was slowly losing control of his dream dimension as the world around them breaks into multiple pieces. They see a man floating in midair, surrounded by a bright light. This is the end. Yoshino shouted as he fired multiple lasers in all directions. Midoriya, who was struggling to stand up, was almost hit by one, but Bakugo had pushed him ahead of time. Everything was getting destroyed. They had nowhere to go. Midoriya knew that the only way to stop all of this is to defeat Yoshino once and for all. He stood up, enduring all the pain. Yoshino stopped firing lasers and looked around to see where the 2 boys were. To his surprise, they were gone. Unexpectedly, both of them appeared on his side and attacked him at the same time, but he blocked them with a barrier. Midoriya and Bakugo created their own platforms to stand on and immediately ran down. Yoshino chased after them all while attacking. The both of them dodged his attacks and retaliated. It didn't take long until Yoshino was beginning to feel the pain. He was about to lose, but he attacked one more time as a last resort. He let out a scream as he glowed brightly. Midoriya knew what he did. It was a self-destruction attack. Kaken! Run! He screamed as the 2 of them fled away, but the explosion has already happened and engulfed both of them. It was large enough to destroy the whole dream dimension. On the other side, Aizawa saw Yoshino's body slowly turn into ashes. What's happening? Yaoyorozu asked, but there was no answer. All of them went silent. Kirishima noticed that nothing happened to Bakugo while Midoriya was alright as well. Not long after, the 2 of them woke up at the same time. Bakugo! You're awake! Kirishima shouted beside him. Shut up! You're way too loud! Bakugo shouted back, but Kirishima just laughed. At the hospital, Midoriya shouted. All Might and the others ran beside Midoriya, who looked like he just woke up from a long coma. They cried tears of joy and smiled from ear to ear, seeing Midoriya awake. Welcome back, Midoriya, Ida said with a smile. 2 days later, it's been 2 days since we fought Yoshino. We didn't really understand what happened, but it seems that he died before the explosion could actually hurt us. They told me about all the things that happened while I was asleep, and I also told them what happened inside the dream dimension. We heard the news about Nejire and were thankful that she was safe and sound. However, after all that has happened, I'm still quite nervous at the very least. I'm still wondering how to fix all this, Midoriya thought, looking out the window, trying to pass the time. 1 week later, the whole class surprised Midoriya as he walked inside his classroom. Midoriya, welcome back, Ida said, waving his hand. Deku, I'm so glad you're back. Uraraka leaned in close to Midoriya, which made him blush like a tomato. Uraraka noticed this and quickly backed away in embarrassment. Yo, Midoriya. How've you been holding up? Denki greeted the green-haired boy. I'm doing fine, Midoriya replied as he went to his desk, but still, it was tiring to find your girlfriend, you know, Mina said, leaning on her desk. It's not fair. How can he have a girlfriend while I can't? Mineta shouted while he gritted his teeth. The whole class got noisier until Aizawa came inside the classroom. Class has started for the UA students once again. After class, Midoriya packed his bags and proceeded to go the dorms with Iida and Uraraka. On the way, they came across the big three. Nejire stood behind Mirio and Tamaki, which was weird since she wasn't the shy type. "Hey Midoriya. Can we talk for a bit?" Mirio asked while he nodded in response. Iida and Uraraka went ahead and waved goodbye to Midoriya. "What is it that you wanted to talk about?" Midoriya asked. Mirio looked behind him and pushed Nejire forward. "Don't you have something to say?" Mirio teased Nejire. "I know," she whispered behind her. She turned back to face Midoriya, who gulped all his saliva. He felt tense and nervous before he heard her speak. "I'm sorry Midoriya, I didn't mean all the things I said back then. I should have listened to you, so that's why I apologize deeply." Nejire bowed. Midoriya was left in shock. He didn't think she would apologize. "I'm sorry too, Nejire. I should have explained everything to you. I dragged everyone into this mess." Midoriya bowed as well. "And Midoriya, Nejire stuttered. She suddenly wrapped Midoriya into a tight hug. "I missed you so much," she cried tears of joy and dug her face onto his chest. Midoriya placed his hands on her head and smiled while Nejire looked up to his face. "I missed you too." They both smiled and hugged each other tightly once more. "Looks like they made up." Mirio looked at Tamaki, who was facing the wall. "Yes, they did," he replied. It was morning, and just as Midoriya was about to enter his room, he noticed Aoyama standing near his doorstep. He handed him an anonymous letter. Midoriya thanked the sparkling Aoyama and proceeded to read the letter inside his room. "I wonder who gave me this," Midoriya said as he opened the letter, revealing a short message to him. It read, "Dear Midoriya, I'm writing this letter to tell you that I like you. I know this may seem surprising, but I like that you're hardworking, kind, and strong. I hope that we can see each other more often so I can finally say how much I like you. I'm hoping that you feel the same way too, and I hope that this letter reaches you. Yours truly, Daisuke." Midoriya was left baffled with what he read. He never expected that someone would send him a love letter. Thousands of questions began to flood his mind about who, what, when, why, how, and it continued like this until he went to his classroom. At the classroom of Deku, Uraraka waved at Midoriya, who was mumbling 1,000 words to himself. "Good morning, Midoriya." Iida greeted the boy, but he didn't respond. "Deku, is something wrong?" Uraraka asked, which surprised the boy. Nothing's wrong. I was just thinking about something," he replied with a smile. "What were you thinking about?" "It seemed like you were deep in thought," Iida questioned him. "Well, it's a someone. How do I say this? Someone sent me a letter," he hesitantly replied. "A letter?" Uraraka asked and tilted her head to the right as if in confusion. "Yeah, but I don't think it means anything," Deku responded, trying his best not to make Uraraka jealous. "Looks like Aizawa-sensei is heading this way. Let's go to our seats." Iida pushed Midoriya and Uraraka inside. After class, Midoriya packed his bags and went back to his dorm room. As he placed his bags on his bed, he heard a small grunt coming from under the blanket. He slowly uncovered it and saw the familiar shade of blue. Midoriya immediately knew the person hiding under his blanket. That person suddenly pounced on top of Midoriya and gave him a tight hug. "Izuku, I missed you so much." Nejire squeezed his sides so tight that caused him to red. Nejire. Just a second," the boy struggled to breathe. Eventually, the girl let him go and he was able to catch his breath. Midoriya let out a sigh and looked at Nejire, who was smiling widely. "How did you get in my room?" he asked a genuine question. "I have my ways," she responded with a small grin on her face and hips swaying. Suddenly, Midoriya remembered the love letter given to him earlier. "What's this for?" Nejire asked while holding the love letter that was given to him. "That's nothing." Midoriya panicked and tried to grab the letter out of her hands, but he was too slow. Nejire had already opened it. A few seconds of awkward silence passed. Midoriya looked at Nejire's back as she read the contents of the letter. Izuku Nejire caught his attention. His eyes darted at her pouting face. "Are you going to replace me again?" She shoved the letter close to his face. "No, I won't. As someone just sent me a letter, it's not a big deal." His arms flailed around. "Are you sure?" Nejire asked, her eyebrow raised. Yes, Izuku replied with a nod. Nejire then threw the letter away and embraced Midoriya. But I trust you. She smiled widely. Izuku felt relieved knowing that it didn't turn into another argument. In the back of his mind, he asked himself just who sent him that letter. Class 1B, 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲. Can I just have a taste? Setsuna asked the class representative who was cooking dinner. I already said no, Setsuna. Kendo stirred the delicious-looking curry. But it looks so good. Setsuna begged on her knees. No is no. Kendo then tasted the curry. Setsuna stared with jealousy in her eyes. It's good, alright guys. Dinner's ready. She called everyone's attention. Finally, I'm starving. Tetsu quickly rose up from the couch and went to the dining table. Is everyone here already? Kendo counted each head and noticed someone was missing. I think Yui is still in her room, Setsuna said with her mouth full. She had already chomped down on the curry. I'll go get her. Kendo went upstairs to check on Yui. Ooh, the dinner's ready. She knocked on the door and entered. You're still writing? She looked at Yui who was writing something on her desk. I'll be there in a minute. I just need to finish this, she responded while focusing on her task. Say, who are you writing that for anyway? Kendo asked, coming closer and seeing a familiar name on the letter. Yui quickly covered the letter with her hands and head. Why can't she shyly hid the letter away from Kendo. Okay, but I'm really surprised, Kendo said with a grin. I never thought you liked him, she continued. Yui blushed in response, remembering the time she first met him. The boy named Midoriya.